Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Konoha, Naruto who picks up Kage ninja fragments attributes. Chapter 81. If the third Hokage wanted Naruto to spend the rest of his life as an ordinary ninja without training him, then Kushina could understand, and not only would not be angry, but would agree with his approach. But Naruto wanted to become Hokage. Even if he is not a Jinchuriki, he wants to be Hokage. God knows how Kushina felt after knowing Naruto's ability in the Ninja Academy. I wanted him to be Hokage, but I didn't develop his strength. Even in cultural classes, he came last. With such a Naruto, if you let him become Hokage, isn't that? Do you want him to die? Do you want our Naruto to die? This is not someone else's creative theme. How could there be someone who suddenly becomes stronger? No matter what kind of ninja he is, he has to go through a long period of training and improve his strength bit by bit. This is the way for Minato. The same is true for us. Even during the Warring States period, those who established the Konoha ninja village, those two are like that too. Even the god of ninja trained step by step until he reached adolescence and gained astonishing strength. As a result, the third Hokage, without training at all, gave Naruto the idea of becoming Hokage. A nine-tails Jinchuriki with no culture, no strength, and targeting the Hokage. Kushina's current mood is, I really want to beat you to death, you old man. We can tolerate that our son has a bad life, but we cannot forgive and instill in him the idea that not only can he not do it, but he will even die for it. Kyuubi's chakra feathers covered Naruto's body surface, suppressing Kushina's chakra. At this moment, the golden nine-tails mode is no longer present, and Kushina's state at this moment looks more like a violent nine-tails state. Red chakra covered her hand, and Kushina punched it down. The Hokage's office was destroyed by a punch. However, with this punch, Kushina did not hit the third Hokage, but hit the air. Even so, the aftermath sent the third Hokage flying backwards. Since we have agreed not to kill you, old man, we won't do that, but... Kushina formed a seal to free a scroll hidden on her body. This is a ninjutsu scroll used to store items. Kushina tightened her grip on what was inside, an omelet pan. If I say I want to beat you, we will definitely beat you. Slowly arriving in front of the fallen third Hokage, Kushina raised the omelet pan in her hand. The third Hokage was in a coma, but was later awakened by pain. Then, his screams sounded in the darkness of Konoha. Although the Anbu wanted to come to support, as soon as they got close, they would be controlled by Kushina using the Uzumaki clan's sealing technique. In the end, each of them would attack with one attack, knocking them all out. Therefore, the Anbu quickly calmed down and just gathered around, not getting close. After all, it was over and he was just beaten unconscious. Instead of doing that, it would be better to stay here honestly. At least now, it seems that this person has no intention of killing the third Hokage. It just looks like if you were hit by this omelet pan, it would feel so painful. Kushina wasn't too harsh, just a few strokes. You should still be saved, no problem. Before Kushina left, she looked at the third Hokage on the ground and thought a little guiltily. However, her anger was gone and she felt a little more comfortable. Since the third Hokage didn't send anyone to teach Naruto, from today on, she would teach him herself. Moreover, if Minato can come out in the future, then he and his wife will teach together. Morning. The sixth generation Hinata sat at the dining table and looked curiously into the kitchen, then quietly took out her camera and took a few photos of Naruto-kun making breakfast. After Naruto summoned his mother, she was taught how to make breakfast, but she had never taken any photos. This is a historic moment. This is a precious secret treasure. In the kitchen, Naruto was a little confused. It was basically the first time that he made breakfast by himself. Moreover, although Kushina said she wanted to teach others, she actually didn't have much patience. In fact, most parents don't have the patience to teach their children. Naruto, no, that's not the case. Is that one? Time has passed. The fire is too great. Too little water. Quite a while. Breakfast is done. However, looking at this finished product, Naruto felt a little mixed. Mom, do you think this is edible? ... I'm not sure. This doesn't look like something I'm going to teach you to make. How can you make a plate of fried eggs green? In his rush just now, Naruto also forgot to add something, probably vegetable powder. This omelette is so green. The 6th generation Hinata looked at the omelette and couldn't eat it. In theory, she felt that this kind of thing should not be called an omelette. Naruto thought for a while and decided to eat what he made by himself. He was quite honest, so he picked up the chopsticks. At this time, the 6th generation Hinata suddenly shouted, "Wait a minute, Naruto-kun, let me prepare first." Naruto stopped and looked at her. The 6th generation Hinata went to get boxes of stomach medicine and came back. "Alright, Naruto-kun, I've prepared the first aid. You can eat." Then I ate. Naruto swallowed, then picked at it, then ate it. I don't know if it tastes good or not, but this is the first time I've eaten anything other than ramen and instant noodles. The mood is a bit complicated. Then I'll try too. When the 6th generation Hinata saw this, she also planned to have a taste. Anyway, it seemed that she would not eat dead people. But unexpectedly, when she ate it, she discovered that it was not as scary as it looked on the outside. Well, it tastes very strange. I don't know if it tastes good or bad, but it tastes really strange. But because Naruto-kun did it, I give it full marks. Although the result of breakfast was not very satisfactory, Naruto was still satisfied with the result of his first labor. At least the food he made was edible. Since he had to cook all 3 meals by himself from today on, Naruto also prepared lunch. One portion was left for the 6th generation Hinata, and the other portion was kept for Naruto to eat. Speaking of which, Hinata, don't you try it. Although I can do this, I can't do it well without practice. That's it. Naruto's fused memories also contained content about these things. The 6th generation Hinata has basically been practicing since she became Orochimaru's disciple, so these things may be a little strange to her. But for ninjas, they also live in the wild, so she must know basic cooking. However, she probably felt that she couldn't do it, so she didn't do it. Naruto shook his head, packed his things into his lunchbox, and went to school. There is no cafeteria in the Ninja Academy, and lunch will be prepared, but if you bring it yourself, you won't say anything. Uchiha Mansion. Sasuke was getting ready to go to school when he was suddenly stopped by his father Fugaku. "Sasuke, wait, father, what's the matter?" After hearing this, Fugaku was silent for a moment, as if it was a bit difficult to talk about this matter. After a while, he asked, "Sasuke, is there a student named Uzumaki Naruto in your class?" "Well, there was such a person. He was a crane, not anymore." Sasuke wanted to say that Naruto was a loser, but suddenly he realized that Naruto is no longer the same person as he used to be. Now he has achieved number 1 in tests many times, and I am afraid he will soon be able to challenge his grade. Number 1. Of course, it is definitely only a challenge, not a real first. After all, if you want to be number 1 in your grade, you must surpass him in actual combat scores. In other words, you must defeat Sasuke once. However, is this possible? Tell me who he is. Although he didn't know why his father wanted to know what kind of person he was, Sasuke introduced Naruto in detail. After hearing this, Fugaku didn't look down on Naruto too much. After all, he knew that the child was the son of the 4th Hokage. I'm afraid that now, he can really show his talent as a ninja. "Sasuke, I have a task for you now. This task is related to the life and death of our Uchiha clan. You have to betray Naruto in the actual combat test, and then find an opportunity to get close to him and have a good relationship with him. It is best if you can be his friend." Fugaku considered that since the child wanted to be the number 1 in the academy, then let him be the number 1 in the academy. This ranking was not an important thing anyway. Compared to the survival of the Uchiha clan, this sacrifice is nothing. What's more, the results of the Ninja Academy are just results and have nothing to do with actual ninja abilities. And Sasuke can also take advantage of this opportunity to make friends with Naruto. When Sasuke heard this, his expression instantly stiffened. Let him let go and lose to that crane tail. Why? If he couldn't become the top grader in the college, his father would definitely not show his approval. But now, he was going to push away the only opportunity he had to get his father's approval, and he had to let himself lose this opportunity. Opportunity to become friends with someone. Sasuke clenched his fists. No, never. Obviously he can defeat the guy behind the wheel. Why should we release water? In terms of strength, he is stronger. Is that so? Because he knew he couldn't be defeated in a head-on battle, did the guy behind the crane use this method to get him to give up his position? Uzumaki Naruto, you are so despicable. Obviously you can't defeat him, but you actually plan to defeat him through this secret trick. However, you won't succeed. Even if you succeed in getting your father to help you, I, Sasuke, will never approve it. Just watch, Uzumaki Naruto. Even if I make my father angry because of this, I, Uchiha Sasuke, will definitely blow Naruto Uzumaki's head off. Sasuke clenched his fists, his heart filled with anger and fighting spirit. He was angry. Originally, he didn't want to argue with this kind of person, but now that the other party came to provoke him, it was impossible for him, Uchiha Sasuke, to avoid the fight anymore. Uzumaki Naruto, just feel sorry for letting me, Uchiha Sasuke, get serious. It is worth mentioning that today's weather is cloudless, sunny, no rain, and the sun is hanging high. Naruto stood in front of the Ninja Academy, stopped, and said to Kushina in his heart, "Mom, did you study here before?" Yes, but the Ninja Academy at that time was not as big as it is now. The Ninja Academy now looks a little bigger and newer than before. Kindness. By the way, Naruto, is there any girl in the Ninja Academy who likes you? Kushina's sudden question made Naruto cough. However, even though he wanted to answer, there was such a girl. But, should I tell my mother honestly? Naruto thought a little embarrassed. At this time, a small head poked out from the side, then retracted. Kushina suddenly said warily, "Naruto, someone is following you." Naruto was stunned for a moment, then responded, "Ah, Mom, that's Hinata, don't be nervous." Hinata, is it the same as the name at home? Although they are from a different world, they are the same Hinata at home. Hearing this, Kushina relaxed her guard. Since he is a similar person to Hinata at home, he certainly cannot be an enemy. Kushina returned to the previous question and said, "Naruto, you haven't answered the question we just asked." Naruto looked at Hinata who had been hiding, but said without thinking, "There is such a person." "Hey, which one is it?" Naruto avoided answering. "Mom, you're going to be late." Hearing this, Kushina stopped asking further questions. However, her eyes also became sharp. "School, don't worry, Naruto. This time, Mom is here. Although she can't make you the best in school, she can definitely make you a little expert in fighting. That's Sasuke, when you get the chance, your mother will definitely help you beat him. No matter what monsters there are in this school, let Mom help you conquer them. Son, from today on, you are the shining pepper of Ninja Academy." When Naruto arrived in the classroom, he attracted quite a bit of attention. However, in the past, when he entered the classroom, the most discussed thing was that the crane came to school. But now, everyone in the class looked at him with an inexplicable wariness and vigilance. Naruto is here. We must not let him get number 1 successfully today, otherwise. Yes, we must not let him get first place again. These students didn't take Naruto's words seriously at first, but as Naruto made great progress, they gradually realized that if this continued, Naruto would become the class president. In this way, they will have to face college life where every day is nothing but study. No, never, they absolutely do not want to study continuously every day. College life is all about lazing around, sleeping, skipping classes and picking up girls. If all that's left is learning, then what's the point of a ninja academy like this? Uzumaki Naruto, we will never let you succeed. For a time, countless astonishing fighting spirits surged out of the students in the class. At this moment, even Choji, who had always been kind and honest, narrowed his eyes at this moment and showed sharp eyes. If Naruto became the squad leader, he wouldn't be able to eat snacks. Such a life would be too desperate. Ya exuded an aura of wisdom. He was serious, he was going to be serious. He always thought that he could only use 10% of his chakra. This time he will use all his chakra. Just wait and see, Uzumaki Naruto, his Inuzuka Kiba will never let you become the squad leader, and then let you Akamaru cannot appear in the classroom. Shikamaru didn't speak. Although it was a bit annoying not being able to sleep in class, playing against Naruto was also annoying. Actually, it wasn't. Recently, Shikamaru found that it was quite fun to compete with Naruto. Unfortunately, Naruto obviously didn't target him very much, so Shikamaru rarely had the opportunity to compete directly with Naruto. How about trying to compete with him in a practical test? Shikamaru subconsciously came up with this idea that he had never had before. Hinata raised her head, then lowered her head, but her eyes were in the Byakugan state. She looked at Naruto carefully, and then, she was sure. Naruto-kun has someone else's chakra on his body, and based on her sixth sense intuition, I'm afraid it's a woman's chakra. To sum it up, Naruto-kun has chakra from other women. Where did this woman's chakra come from? No matter what their thoughts were, everyone in the class started to stir with Naruto's arrival. This scene made Kushina feel something was wrong. Isn't this sun the tail end of a crane? Why do they mean to get first place? And looking at the attitude of the group of people in the class, Kushina didn't think they were looking at the back of the crane. Each of these people was more vigilant and alert, as if Naruto was a big boss. Confused Kushina couldn't help but ask, Naruto, aren't you the tail end of the crane? Naruto was slightly stunned before he realized that he did not explain his current situation to Kushina, so he explained his current situation again. After hearing this, Kushina didn't know what to say. This is different from what she had planned. Shouldn't the next story be about the bullied son beating up those who bullied him with the help of his mother? But how come this son had already beaten them all before she took action? And not only that, he also continued to get the first place in the test. She thought her son was not good at fighting or studying, but in fact he was one of the best in his grade. This, then what use do we have? Kushina felt as if she had lost her ability for a moment. Son, is there anyone in this ninja academy who you can't beat but want to beat, in this ninja academy? I think should not be. Naruto thought about it and felt that with his current strength, there should be no one in this ninja academy that he could not defeat. Whether it was a student or a teacher, Naruto could do it even in a head-on challenge without using any underhanded tactics. Hammer all these people's heads to pieces. After all, he is now a ninja who can use all attributes. Although being versatile doesn't necessarily mean he's strong, a ninja who can use so many attributes is no different. What's more, now that Kushina is helping, no matter how he thinks about it, he won't fall over in the ninja academy. This ninja academy is definitely a safe zone for him. Then let's see. Kushina felt that her fighting spirit was shattered in an instant. It seemed like she couldn't do much to help Naruto with his life at school. And Kushina actually feels like she can't help Naruto with his training and growth. He has the memory of Namikaze Naruto and has reached an agreement with Kyuubi. To a certain extent, Naruto has actually surpassed her in terms of the nine-tailed Jinchuriki. As for what can be taught, I'm afraid the only thing that can be taught is the sealing technique. But apart from sealing, what else can we do? Kushina thought in her heart. Naruto didn't know what Kushina was thinking, and he didn't have the ability to read minds. He just came to his seat as usual, and then glanced around the class. When his eyes fell on Hinata, the other person quickly lowered his head. Naruto paused, thought about it, and smiled at her, but the other party's ostrich movements obviously didn't notice Naruto's smile. Then, Naruto looked at Sasuke. In recent days, Naruto has won number 1 again and again. Sasuke's attitude towards him was no longer completely ignoring him. In fact, he had completely gone the other way and started to be wary of him. In fact, Naruto has basically got the first place in the cultural class exam this time. What is missing now is the practical class. In the next practical lesson, Naruto will also start his next plan. Now people in the class have gradually begun to notice the existence of a person like him. The previous indifference was treating him as an insignificant person. The current attention is because he can no longer be ignored. After all, they are ranked first in every test, no matter how much they don't want to pay attention to such people. However, Naruto found that the way Sasuke looked at him was very subtle. It seemed to be resentment, but Naruto didn't expect that he would be jealous of Sasuke if he did something. If you don't understand, don't think about it. Anyway, there will be a practical test later. Just use your strength to block Sasuke's mouth. After Naruto looked at everyone, he did his own thing. Today was finally Naruto's turn for the long-awaited actual combat test. This test will also determine whether Naruto can get the first place in his grade. Presumably, there will be many students in the class who plan to snipe him. Therefore, Naruto still looked forward to what kind of resistance this group of people could make. I hope he won't be too disappointed. Of course, before they resisted, Naruto hoped that they would not capsize in the gutter first. After all, this world is full of all kinds of despicable and shameless ninjas. It's almost lunchtime. Choji and Shikamaru get together. Choji was eating an appetizer, a large bag of potato chips. Next to him, Shikamaru would normally be taking a nap lazily, but this time, he stood up and prepared to leave the classroom. But before leaving, Shikamaru took out a rare lunch box. Choji saw this and said strangely, "Shikamaru, you actually brought your own lunch." "Well, today is a little special." Shikamaru smiled and said, "Choji, I'll take your share too." "Hey, why, Shikamaru?" Shikamaru brought food. Although Choji was surprised, it wasn't too strange. After all, he would do this occasionally. But if Shikamaru also brought Choji's portion, then Choji would feel very strange. "Because you said you don't want Naruto to become the class president, so I'm just helping you." "I can't say that. In fact, I also want to continue competing with Naruto." "Hey, help me. Let's compete." Choji didn't understand what Shikamaru meant. "Do these things have anything to do with lunch?" "Shikamaru, does the lunch you brought have something like 3-color meatballs?" "Of course not, it's just a regular lunch." Shikamaru just shook his head and smiled. Later, I learned about today's lunch menu from a student who went to other classrooms to inquire. "Oh no, everyone, today's lunch is sweet potatoes." The first ones to cry out were the girls. It's sweet potato. Why is this?" Everyone in the class was complaining, especially the girls. If possible, they don't want to eat this because they might fart. This is too damaging to their image. Sasuke didn't care at all. No matter what kind of lunch he had, his quality would not be reduced. When he saw it was a sweet potato, Choji drooled, "Shikamaru, it's a sweet potato." Seeing this, Shikamaru put one hand on his forehead. "Ah, I forgot. You don't mind this. If I had known about it, I wouldn't have prepared lunch for you." "You wouldn't care about this either." Because he knew it was sweet potatoes today, Shikamaru was afraid that Choji's performance would be affected if he ate them, so he prepared lunch for him. Before the actual combat test, there were many examples of abnormal performance due to food. Shikamaru saw this, so he considered doing this next. Of course, he did more than just this. At this moment, Iruka and the ant pushing lunch arrived at the door of the classroom. Shikamaru walked over under Choji's surprised gaze. "Iruka-sensei, I'm here to help." Iruka nodded, and then said, "Ah, Shikamaru, you are here, take that." "Okay, Iruka-sensei." Shikamaru started pushing the cart and began to distribute the school lunches he got today to other students. The lady in the cafeteria next to her saw this and praised her. "Teacher Iruka, there is a hard-working student in your class. Everyone else is eager to be lazy, but he is the only one who offers to help." Hard-working. Ah ha ha. Iruka was a little embarrassed. Forget it if he was praising someone else, Shikamaru, that person was lazy to the core. He would never offer to help like this. That is, I don't know what happened today that made me suddenly become so proactive. However, even if he just suddenly and accidentally wanted to work hard, Iruka still thought it was good. It seems that Shikamaru has gradually changed. This is the second change in the class taught by Iruka since Naruto. Moreover, not only Shikamaru, but also someone has been running to the cafeteria to help in the past few days. At first, the people in the cafeteria were actually a little repulsive and resistant to this person. Because this person is Uzumaki Naruto, a person they hate a little and think is the Kyuubi. However, gradually, Naruto gained recognition from the people in the cafeteria through his hard work. After all, not all civilians died that year, and some were just following what others said. There are no such people in the cafeteria. Naruto has been helping in the cafeteria like this. Until today, because of the actual combat test, he stopped helping. Iruka couldn't help but sigh. Naruto has changed a lot now. The cafeteria ant heard this and nodded. Although I used to think that kid was quite annoying, but these days, he has been using his shadow clone to help us do things in class, and he didn't complain at all. I have changed my view of him. He is indeed a little different now than before. When no one knew it, Naruto's reputation gradually improved. However, what no one actually knows is that, when he did this, he had another purpose. Choji was still surprised when he saw Shikamaru helping to distribute the food. When Shikamaru came over to distribute the food, he said, "Shikamaru, why are you acting weird today? You have also become be diligent." Shikamaru just shook his head and said, "This is part of the plan." After thinking about it, Shikamaru whispered his plan in Choji's ear. After hearing this, Dinky asked a little strangely, "Is this really okay? Although it may not be successful, it will definitely have some effect, and I don't want him to fail completely, I just try to reduce his performance as much as possible. If he is weak, we will be strong. If his grades are poor, our grades will be good." The reason why Crane Tail is not only because he did poorly in the exam, but also because our exam scores were better than his. Shikamaru's words gave Cho a lot of feelings and encouragement. Choji clenched his fists, full of fighting spirit. "I know, Shikamaru, I will endure not eating too many sweet potatoes today." Choji decided not to eat the academy's food today, but instead ate the lunch Shikamaru brought. Kindness. Shikamaru nodded, then used his authority to give Choji a very small amount of sweet potatoes. Although he prepared Choji's portion, the portion was definitely not enough for Choji. However, this level of weight will not affect Choji's performance. When distributing food, although Shikamaru's distribution was hidden, in fact, if you look carefully, you will find that he is obviously targeting the students with strong practical ability in the class, and the sweet potatoes are obviously smaller, while the students with weak practical ability are given less sweet potatoes. There are significantly more sweet potatoes. Of course, Shikamaru still treats girls equally, and all are in small quantities. After all, women are too troublesome. If you give them too many sweet potatoes, something might happen to them, and Shikamaru will definitely be the unlucky one. Most of the students didn't notice the strangeness in Shikamaru's distribution of food. Even though a small number of students were dissatisfied with Shikamaru's distribution because they liked to eat sweet potatoes and wanted to increase the portion, they still didn't notice that Shikamaru was so do it with deep meaning. As for the students who wanted to eat less, they were too busy worrying about whether Shikamaru was getting more or less. However, when Shikamaru gave it to Sasuke, Sasuke suddenly said, "Just give it to me normally." I can see that you are being clever. In order to make Uzumaki Naruto's performance abnormal, you are going to give him a specially increased amount of sweet potatoes, and then give a small amount of sweet potatoes to those of us who can compete with him on the same stage. But for a capable ninja, this approach is meaningless. I, Uchiha Sasuke, will use my strength to defeat him and will not let him become the number one. Sasuke is very confident that he can win even without resorting to tricks. Isn't it just a practical test? Isn't it just the tail end of Naruto Uzumaki's crane? He wants to smash the tail end of this crane. Moreover, he wanted to prove to his father that he was number one in the academy. If he used such a despicable method to win here, it would be disgraceful for him to win. Presumably, when the opponent loses, he will definitely be dissatisfied. He, Sasuke, was going to defeat that fool in a dignified manner. Sasuke's confident words infected Shikamaru, making him smile bitterly, and then distributed them normally. Oh no, a little more. However, when Sasuke saw this, he ate it all without caring. Even if I become a little weaker and distracted during the battle, I still can't be defeated by that crane tail. At this moment, Shikamaru realized Sasuke's confidence. Perhaps, a little cleverness and calculation like his are meaningless to a truly powerful person. There are limits to strategy, but there is no limit to the combat power of ninjas. This is the Uchiha clan of Konoha. However, having said that, Shikamaru still decided to implement his idea and add more sweet potatoes to Naruto's lunch. Maybe what Sasuke said was right, but Shikamaru also had his own ideas and his own way of acting. He is not Sasuke, not the Uchiha clan, not the Glory clan, he is a member of the Nara clan who rose to power through strategy. What was a little trick for Sasuke was the most logical thing for him to do. Sasuke didn't seem to be planning to stop Shikamaru's actions. After all, as a ninja, if you can't be alert to others at all times, you may die without knowing when you are performing a mission. If the crane tail is hit, it will only prove that his ability as a ninja is nothing more than that. However, although Shikamaru planned well, when he came to Naruto, he saw Naruto taking out his lunch box. Shikamaru's eyes showed a little surprise. Naruto brought lunch to the Ninja Academy, which was indeed beyond his expectation. After all, Naruto never prepared lunch for himself, which was why Shikamaru was so calculating. However, Shikamaru never expected that Naruto would prepare lunch himself. Is it possible that his plan will fail? Shikamaru was a little disappointed, but he didn't give up yet. He wanted to give it a last try. Naruto, did you bring your own lunch today? Well, I tried it myself today. Naruto opened his lunch box, and the unknown green object made Shikamaru pause in his words and his eyes froze. What is this thing? What is this? Vegetable pie. Omelette. You call this green thing an omelette? Shikamaru didn't know how to complain. Can this be called an omelette? However, Shikamaru put aside the appearance of this thing for the time being and said, Naruto, I think your lunch is not enough. Do you want to add some sweet potatoes? No need, even if this is not enough, I have prepared others. Naruto refused Shikamaru's request, but took out another bag of bread from under the table. I even brought my own bread. It's so watertight. Naruto, you have indeed planned it to this point. Shikamaru looked at the bag of bread that was probably too full to finish, and knew that his plan had failed. However, although the plan failed, perhaps because of Sasuke's words just now, Shikamaru was not as disappointed as he expected at the miscalculation. Indeed, if a small strategy like this comes to fruition, it can really reduce the gap in strength between them. But if he is as powerful as Sasuke, what will happen even if he is attacked? Being strong means being strong. Even if you are hit, it will not affect the result. With Sasuke around, Shikamaru thought it would be difficult for Naruto to get the first place in actual combat. Thinking of this, Shikamaru completely gave up the idea of letting Naruto fall into the trap, and instead returned to continuing to distribute food. Since the outcome won't change, Shikamaru had better just do his own thing. Shikamaru, who had distributed the food, was just about to go back when he heard the ant next to him say, Iruka-sensei, since you have a practical test today, let Naruto not go to the cafeteria to help. Hey, help, what help? Naruto going to the cafeteria to help. Shikamaru felt that he might have heard very crucial and important information. Well, Auntie, what do you mean when you say Naruto went to help in the cafeteria? Oh, that's Naruto from your class. He has been helping us in the cafeteria these days. This kid is pretty good. Shikamaru nodded. Although this is just a small thing that sounds relatively ordinary. After all, students at the Ninja Academy occasionally run to the cafeteria to help out in order to know what lunch is, but Shikamaru feels subtly that this matter is very important. Something is wrong. If it had been anyone else, Shikamaru might not have suspected anything. But this is the Naruto who has been doing all kinds of amazing things recently. It's not surprising what he would do. However, Shikamaru couldn't guess what Naruto was going to do. After all, no matter how you think about it, he is just doing something to help others. What else can you do by helping out in the cafeteria? If anything, Shikamaru could only think that Naruto went to help the people in the cafeteria in order to avoid accidents in the actual combat test and to keep himself in the best condition without leakage, so as to know what the daily lunch was. Considering that Naruto brought lunch today, it made perfect sense. If it is speculated that Naruto's recent purpose is to appear in a breakfast situation like today, then it can be said to be completely reasonable. This should obviously be the guess, but Shikamaru felt unspeakably uneasy no matter what. Just, for all his uneasiness, Shikamaru immediately felt at ease when he saw Sasuke's usual cold emotion. Yes, even if Naruto really had a plan, his plan was useless in the face of Sasuke's powerful strength. Shikamaru suddenly felt relieved again. While eating lunch, Kushina suddenly asked, Naruto, speaking of which, yesterday we told you that we were going to teach you how to make breakfast today. It was already very late and it was impossible to buy ingredients. Why did you prepare the ingredients for breakfast? And there's a lunch box too. Because he doesn't make breakfast on weekdays, Naruto's refrigerator often doesn't contain ingredients like eggs. To put it more seriously, even if there are ingredients in the refrigerator, Naruto shouldn't have prepared a lunch box, right? When Naruto heard this, he showed a strange smile. Mom, I never said that it was because you planned to teach me how to cook that I prepared breakfast and lunch for myself today. Kushina was slightly startled when she heard this. Indeed, she always thought that Naruto prepared breakfast and lunch because she taught cooking. But she never thought that Naruto really prepared breakfast and lunch because of her teachings. It's possible she just misunderstood. What's more, Naruto had prepared bread just now. No matter how you look at it, this is not someone who brought lunch, but more like someone who plans to try breakfast and lunch, and then replace it with bread if it fails. However, Kushina didn't understand why Naruto did this. Naruto, why are you doing this? If you just plan to make breakfast and lunch by yourself but fail, then there is no need to buy bread, just come to the college to eat it. Why? Naruto smiled but didn't answer. Mom, no place in this world is absolutely safe. I'm just teaching them the rules to survive in the ninja world. The rules for survival in the ninja world. Kushina murmured in her heart, and at the same time, for some reason, she felt that her son looked like a villain now. It's obviously the offspring of a golden sun and a red pepper, but why does it feel so dark? No matter what everyone thought, the afternoon practical test soon came. Everyone in the class showed their energy and tried their best. After all, they didn't intend to let Naruto get high scores in the actual combat test just like this time. The battle hadn't started long yet. Kiba confronts Sasuke's fan club. Ya looked at the girl opposite and sneered secretly. He finally found a chance. Today, Inuzuka Kiba, he was going to smash the heads of these girls. Go, Akamaru. As a member of the Inu ninja clan, Kiba and Akamaru must be together even if they are undergoing actual combat testing. The girl herself was not strong enough, so under the siege of one person and one dog, she was quickly defeated. And, his clothes were bitten to pieces. Tooth, you are too much. Yes, this is just a test. He actually chewed off a girl's clothes. How could such a person exist? Regarding the accusations made by these girls, Ya just curled his lips and said, in Naruto's words, others will not talk to you about this on the battlefield. Since you have decided to become a ninja, you should be aware of it. Quote. At this moment, Ya felt that Naruto's words were really useful. As long as he says this, he is equivalent to occupying the moral high ground and can overlook these girls from a high position. Although he didn't really approve of Naruto as a person, he felt quite satisfied with his words. When Naruto heard this, he just glanced at his teeth, but didn't say anything. At least, he felt that Ya was right. On the battlefield, who cares what despicable means you used? This is true even if Ya takes his words as a talisman. Hateful. Sure enough, Ya's words immediately left those girls speechless. However, Ino, the eldest among the girls, immediately said, it doesn't matter, I will settle the debt with him. Ino is the strongest among the girls. Therefore, as soon as she, the most powerful among the girls, spoke, the girls' dropped morale immediately rose. Come on, Ino, we must take care of him. Obviously, Ya's actions have aroused the anger of the girls. Except for the confrontation between Ya and the girls' team. Various confrontations also began in the class. As Iruka watched, he always felt that this unfolding was a bit strange. It seems that starting from Naruto's previous words, the confrontation in the class has gradually deepened. Of course, although Iruka was a little worried about this kind of confrontation at first, he gradually found that the students' performance also improved during the confrontation, so he decided not to stop it for the time being, but to observe secretly. Nowadays, the confrontation in the class is obviously divided into two types: Naruto versus other students in the class, and Kiba versus the girls in the class. But apart from these, there seemed to be some confrontations that Iruka had not noticed in the past. Immediately following the actual competition was Shino Aburame, a member of the insect clan, and a student with good grades in the class. HMPH, Shino, you have to admit defeat as soon as possible. People like you who deal with bugs every day can't beat me. The student's attitude was arrogant, inflated, and full of confidence, as if he could defeat Shino in just a moment. Shino raised his head, looked at him, and then said calmly, you have already lost. When the student heard this, he was about to say something, but suddenly, he felt that there was no chakra in his body, and then he half knelt on the ground. This is, although it's not a very above-board method, just now, before the battle started, I had my bugs absorb your chakra bit by bit. After losing chakra, a person will fall into a state of fatigue and exhaustion. I won, right, Uruka-sensei? Uruka nodded, and then said a little helplessly, Zeno, although I don't object to you using this tactic, in actual combat tests, positive performance of strength can get higher scores. After all, ninjas have no tactical assessment in combat. Therefore, it all depends on what you know and what skills you have mastered. Such basic abilities will determine your actual level in the academy. This also leads to two extremes after ninjas graduate. Those with fast brains use various tactics to explode, while those with slow brains will gradually be beaten by those with fast brains, even if they perform well in the academy. Exploded. When Shino heard this, he asked, Teacher Uruka, can using this test help us live longer on the battlefield? At this time, Shino recalled the person he met not long ago. Sasuke, the reincarnation eye, looked down from a high place. Where he looked was the strong men of the root organization who once belonged to his command. Of course, today they are just insignificant soldiers in this world. However, Rinnegan Sasuke is confident that one day, these people like today's miscellaneous soldiers, even if they cannot join the root organization like his world, will grow to the point where he can pay a little attention. Thinking of this, Sasuke with the Samsara eye jumped slightly and came to a child. The child's name is Aburame Shino, and she was once one of his right-hand men in his world. Shino sat on the bench in the park, reading quietly alone. Although he doesn't like to be quiet, especially when he is alone like this, the Aburame clan has been criticized since childhood because of their secret ninjutsu, and they rarely play with others. After all, few people like a person who plays with bugs all day long, especially girls. Therefore, from a very young age, Shino, like other Aburame clan members, would find things to do to pass the time that she could do alone. What Janai found was reading. However, Shino doesn't just read books casually, he uses books to improve himself. He has a dream that almost no one in the Aburame clan has, and that is to become a ninja academy teacher. He is a talkative person, and if he is a teacher, then no matter how annoying the students are, they have to listen to him. Although this is a bit forced on others, for the Aburame clan, this is a more appropriate solution. Shino opened the book. Although he continued to absorb knowledge every day, and his abilities in all aspects actually exceeded those of ordinary Ninja Academy students, he always felt that he was still a little lacking. Compared to ordinary genin, he felt that he was lacking in some aspects. Is it experience? Shino suddenly thought of this possibility. But, what is the combat experience of genin? Can I use ninjutsu in battle, or something else? While Shino was thinking, a figure appeared in front of him. This is a young man wearing a kimono. It is completely different from the ordinary ninja dress, but it gives Shino an unspeakable courage. The young man faced Shino, suddenly pulled out the sword from his waist, and then said, Dodge. In an instant, Shino flew backwards, and at the same time, a substantial pressure line appeared on his chest. Rinnegan Sasuke put away his sword. His sudden attack was not to kill Shino, but to confirm one thing. You are not vigilant enough, and your assassination ability is not enough. Sure enough, you are still far behind now. Shino was not injured, but he slowly stood up and his expression became ugly. Swarms of insects gradually emerged from his body. Although I don't know who you are, I will still be angry. Shino only thought that this person was attacking him because he was from the Aburame clan. However, when Shino approached, Rinnegan Sasuke once again made a sword-wielding gesture with his right hand, flash. Shino stepped back warily, but it was still in vain. The attack from nowhere knocked him away again. Your fight should not be in the middle of the fight. After leaving these words, Sasuke turned around and left. Shino stood up from the ground again. He dusted himself off and was suddenly curious about who that person was. Also, what exactly was the ninjutsu just now? Although there were many things that he didn't understand, Shino also gained a little bit. Rinnegan Sasuke's last words seemed to leave a possibility full of imagination in his heart. A fight that is not in the middle of a fight. In other words, is the battle over before it starts? Can this kind of thing be done? Although Shino wanted to refute, something vaguely flashed in his mind. Shino returned home. The Junin's father did not go out on a mission today, but stayed at home. Shino thought for a while, walked over and asked, "Father, there is something I want to ask you." Shino's father nodded but said nothing. "Father, I have something to ask you. If I send parasites to devour the opponent's chakra before the battle, if I do this, can I defeat the enemy before the battle begins?" Shino's father heard this and thought about this possibility. After a while he shook his head and said, "It is difficult to do. Even if it is a parasite, it is difficult to have enough time to absorb the chakra existing in the human body." Quote, "Moreover, we feed them with our own chakra. Once someone else provides them with enough chakra, they may even betray us." Naturally, the Aburame clan has not considered this kind of thing, but it is difficult to achieve. Because once this is done, the parasites may eventually betray, so the Aburame clan will basically not risk such an attempt. After hearing this, Shino not only was not shocked, but became more confident. This means that once a way is found to allow the parasite to still regard itself as its master after actively absorbing excess chakra from others, it will be possible to do such a thing. But how to achieve such a thing? Shino was still a little confused in his heart. However, unlike just reading books before, Shino now starts to try and carry out similar actions every day. Unfortunately, in terms of results, it's hard to achieve. Shino looked at the palm of his hand, and frowned slightly as he saw a parasitic insect that was gradually getting ready to move after absorbing the chakra of many other people. Sure enough, it still doesn't work. In the past few days, he tried to let the parasite absorb the chakra of the same person, and gradually exceeded his chakra supply. Soon, the parasite got a little out of his control and wanted to go to that person. This made Shino realize that his vision might be really difficult to realize. "Sorry," Shino said apologetically, and then prepared to crush the parasite to death. Now that this emotion has appeared, even if this parasitic insect uses Shino's chakra to provide support, it is likely to be betrayed. For the Aburame clan, this situation cannot be left behind. Just when Shino was about to squeeze him to death, a voice sounded next to him. "Wait a minute. It's you." Shino raised his head, and when he saw it was Sasuke with the Rinnegan eye, he immediately showed a wary expression. "Don't be nervous. I have no intention of testing you today. I just came, well, to take a look at your changes." Sasuke, who had the Samsara eye, lowered his head and looked at the parasite in Shino's hand, already knowing what he had done recently. His words obviously made Shino understand a little bit. Sasuke, who had the reincarnation eye, lowered his head, looked at the insect carefully, and then said, "This state is just right. Come here, I will show you a treasure." Sasuke, the Rinnegan, walked in front. Shino hesitated for a while, but he still followed. From what Rinne and Sasuke just said, he could hear that the other party had some solutions to his current doubts. Sasuke, who had the Rinnegan eye, took Shino to a small castle made of sand, and then said to Shino, "Look at this. This is an ant nest." No, Shino took a look. At first, he thought it was just an ant nest built by Sasuke with his Samsara eye, but gradually, he realized something was wrong. This ant nest was obviously made by these ants. But how do ants build a small castle? This is an illusion. No, the correct statement is that it is an enchantment that disrupts the natural energy in living things. Illusion. If it is an illusion, then it can indeed be done. Shino suddenly had some realizations. If you can use illusion to control parasites, then you can indeed do this. But the problem is that the chakra of the parasitic bug is very weak, so it is difficult to disrupt it accurately. What's more, even if they are disrupted, if these parasites absorb other people's chakra, they will definitely escape the control of the illusion under the impact of different chakras. However, it seems that Sasuke with the Samsara eye is not talking about illusions but senjutsu. What is fairy art? Senjutsu is a special energy produced by combining natural energy with chakra. Sasuke, who had the Rinnegan eye, looked at Shino and suddenly asked, "Are you interested in learning this senjutsu?" Shino nodded. To be fair, he naturally wanted to learn. "But, do you have any conditions?" "There is one. If you want me to teach you, then you have to do one thing for me." "What's up?" Use this magic to fight the people in your class. Shino thought for a while, nodded and said, okay, but in addition to this magical technique, can I ask you to teach me how to win outside of the battle process? In addition to being able to control small organisms like bugs, this also has another function. That's transformation. Through this magic, you can transform your parasite into a creature called White Zetsu. When Sasuke said this, he suddenly snapped his fingers. Then, the originally dark ant nest suddenly turned into a vast expanse of white. Termites? No, these are people. Shino could clearly see that these white creatures were creatures similar to humans. Shino felt that his mind was irresistibly attracted to this magical magic. This, Uruka said a little awkwardly. After all, this is the rule of the academy. Teacher Uruka, after listening to what Naruto said before, I realized. In the ninja academy, what I have to learn is not only the training of ninjutsu, but also the training of tactics. In the ninja academy, it's enough for me to get enough points to successfully graduate. But if I can gradually improve my tactical thinking skills by fighting against others, then after graduation, I will definitely be better than those who have not fought against others. People with experience can improve more. Although Sasuke's condition for the Rinnegan eye was one of the reasons, Shino actually wanted to do this himself. In his previous career at the Ninja Academy, Shino had been confused and unable to find his direction. If he just wants to graduate from the Ninja Academy, then he already has the confidence in this aspect now. After all, as long as he masters the three-body technique, he can graduate. This matter is not difficult for most ninjas inherited from their families. But even so, they will still learn all kinds of knowledge in the academy. However, in fact, once faced with a war, this learning method in the academy will be removed and directly enter the battlefield. This is why ninja academies during the war graduated so quickly, but ninja academies during non-war periods had to attend a fixed period of time. In fact, this was all formulated by the second generation Hokage, and was specially established to protect the growth of students. However, in fact, the reason why students during the war were outstanding was not only because they lived in a cruel environment. In fact, if the environment were cruel, many people would die, and there would be no outstanding people. After all, ninjas don't cheat when they are in battle, they are accumulated through a little bit of practice. Before, Shino didn't understand that there would be such a change between wartime and non-wartime. But after listening to Naruto's words, he gradually realized it was confrontation. During the war, ninjas compete with each other to survive. For this reason, ninjas must constantly think and grow, otherwise they will only die. However, in the Ninja Academy, there is no similar confrontation mechanism at all. Shino's goal has always been obvious. He has no interest in professions such as elite jonin and anbu. He wants to become a teacher. However, there are only a few people like Uruka in the classrooms that he has access to, and there are very few people in his family who aim to be teachers. After all, the insect user has outstanding abilities and is not suitable as a teacher, but as someone active on the battlefield. However, now, Shino has new goals for his future. Starting from his own efforts, he wanted to make this Ninja Academy a academy full of confrontation. He wanted Ninja Academy students to gain sufficient experience in fighting against others even before they graduated. Now, Rinnegan Sasuke gives Shino this chance. This battle is just the beginning, Shino said in his heart, and then he returned to his seat, but his words were like water entering a frying pan, causing quite an explosion in the class. Most of the students at the Ninja Academy are ignorant and do not know the destination of their studies. Study, then become a ninja, then play most of the time, that's their day. After all, most students are the type to hang out in the academy and then fail to become ninjas. Although they don't know yet, a survival exercise has made more than 80.00% of students unable to work as ninjas, or they may return to the academy to repeat their studies, but they also know that becoming a ninja is not that easy. At this moment, Shino's words gave these students some different feelings. The princes and generals have a feeling for Xiong Ning. This is probably how he feels. Are they worse than others? Why are the Uchiha clan elites and they are not? In the battle just now, Shino relied on strategy and calculation to win without even fighting. If they use this method, can they defeat the arrogant Sasuke? Especially teeth, he clenched his fists. Yes, although he is weak on his own, he has brains. He may not be able to defeat those girls head-on, but if he uses his brain, maybe. The girls' group also had their eyes twinkling. Shino's words suddenly caused some strange changes in the entire class. For some reason, Naruto looked at this scene and suddenly wanted to say something like this. There is no Lao Yin Bai in this world, or maybe everyone is Lao Yin Bai. However, looking at Shino like this, Naruto smiled. Although others couldn't feel it, Naruto could clearly see that Shino was planning to get number 1 in the actual combat test. If that's the case, then he has to be serious. After all, Lao Yinbi, this is his area of expertise. Ino thought. I kept thinking about it. It can be said that Shino's fighting style gave her a lot of inspiration. That's right. Why do battles have to be decided head-on? Why must the winner be determined during the battle? Ga, you don't seem to be worried at all about Ino's next battle. A friend of Ya's suddenly said curiously after seeing that he provoked the girls but didn't care at all about the opponent they encountered next. What are you afraid of? Come one and kill one, come two and I will kill a pair. Unless they fight in a group, how can they be my opponents one-on-one? Ya is quite confident, it can even be said that his confidence is inflated. After all, it is true that with the fighting power of those girls, what can they achieve? Although Kiba didn't care, Kiba's friend still told Ino's next opponent. Speaking of which, Ino's next opponent is. I think she will lose before she even meets you. When Ya heard the name of this opponent, he immediately felt happy. He was one of the best in the class. Haha, let's go and see how Ino lost. Even Kiba would definitely be in a tough fight against that person, let alone a female ninja like Ino. However, Kiba, who was full of expectations, saw Ino's victory. In Konoha, perhaps the Ino Shikacho family cannot be regarded as one of the most powerful families. However, their status is undoubtedly the most special. Starting from the second Hokage, all the Ino Shikachos of all generations have held important positions in Konoha. Ino's father is one of the leaders of this generation of the Ino, Deer, and Butterfly clan. Ino like this, even though he was born into a ninja family, could actually be considered carefree from childhood to adulthood. Even as a ninja, I want to maintain elegance and beauty, just with this naive idea. However, today, when Kiba provoked her friend, Ino felt the cost of innocence that she had never felt before. Oh. A familiar friend was crying beside him, but Ino didn't know how to comfort him, so he could only frown beside him. The girl who is crying is the one whose clothes were bitten off by Akamaru just now. For girls, this is a shame that is difficult to forget. However, Iruka did not seek justice for them. After all, it's not impossible for a ninja to encounter something like this. Looking at this scene, Ino felt for the first time that the elegance and beauty she had once implemented were meaningless. Because a ninja who is not strong enough can neither become elegant nor beautiful. But among female ninjas, there are very few who can truly gain an advantage in frontal combat. The female ninja's chakra capacity is inherently deficient. In Ino's mind, what Shino said subconsciously emerged. Can elegance and beauty keep me alive on the battlefield? Born into a ninja family, Ino's father Haichi often exercises her. Father, I have learned the ninjutsu you taught me before. Ino made a V sign and said happily to her father. When Yamanaka Hai heard this, he just nodded, and then asked, in that case, then you try to use the ninjutsu I taught you on me. Okay, father. Ino began to form seals with her hands. However, her movements were slow. At this moment, a kunai was placed on her neck. When Ino noticed it, she couldn't help but scream, "Ah! What? It's father, don't scare me, wait until I finish releasing the ninjutsu." Ino quickly noticed that the kunai was wielded by his father, and immediately complained in dissatisfaction. However, Yamanaka Haichi said with a serious expression, Ino, if this was a battlefield, you would have been dead long ago. When forming seals, you should pay attention to the surrounding situation. I should have taught you, this is the first point. The second point, I should have told you that the seal formation speed of this ninjutsu must be shortened to at least how long it takes to complete it. You haven't learned this ninjutsu at all. Yamazaka Haichi asserted this. No, I learned it. Ino retorted dissatisfiedly. Father, my ninjutsu is only a little slower than the time you said. As long as you wait a little longer, I can use it. She thought she had learned it. As long as the ninjutsu can be released, it is considered to be learned. As for the sealing process taking too long, you can do it slowly. Yamanaka Haichi said coldly. On the battlefield, I won't leave you any extra time. Normally, he was quite gentle towards Ino, but when it came to practicing ninjutsu, his attitude was very rigid. This attitude made Ino very unhappy. Father, you are so annoying. This is obviously not a battlefield, why are you so serious? I just want you to survive. No, father, you are just too serious. You are obviously just teaching me ninjutsu. As the two of them quarreled, that practice also came to an end. At that time, Ino didn't take Yamanaka Haichi's words and attitude to heart. In other words, Ino didn't realize at that time that even a difference of less than a second could be the key to survival between two ninjas fighting on the battlefield. This is also the innocence of this generation of ninjas who grew up in a carefree environment. Ino just acted as a representative among them. Ino narrowed her eyes. Although she was naive, she was not that naive. It was just that in the past, she did not take what her father said to heart. My father had said things like this countless times in the past. It's just that she didn't take it seriously, but she still remembered a lot of things in this regard. At this moment, such father's teachings and father's serious attitude are present. Little by little, in her heart at this moment, it gradually replayed and then enlarged. Quite a while, Ino once again looked at her friend crying in front of the mirror, already making a decision in her heart. Think about how to survive first, and then how to become an elegant and beautiful female ninja. This is the conclusion Ino came to after thinking about it. Important things have to be in order. If this was a battlefield, her friend would not be crying but dying at this moment. And if her friend, like Shino, had set a trap before the battle, the result would probably be completely different from now. The final result was not that her clothes were torn off and she was defeated in humiliation, but that she killed her teeth and won. There is always a price to pay for living, Ino murmured. At this moment, she knew that the elegant, beautiful female ninja might be gone. All that's left are the scheming fools who use strategies to survive on the battlefield. Shino's tactics are indeed very reasonable. Sometimes, the winner is not necessarily on the scene, but outside the scene. The girl, quietly, began to transform. The beautiful cosmos was also dyed ink in the gradually changing class. The boy entered the toilet leisurely and prepared to pee. He is not worried at all about the upcoming games. Isn't she just a girl? How could he lose to a girl with his combat prowess, which is among the best in the class? Even if the other party comes from a famous family, she is still the most powerful among girls. After all, creatures like female ninjas shouldn't exist. In the final analysis, the only powerful ninjas are male ninjas like them. The boy was thinking about it as he unzipped his pants and was about to pee when a voice suddenly sounded from behind. The art of turning the heart. Ino, who had taken control of the boy's body, zipped up his pants expressionlessly. There is a disadvantage when using other people's bodies, and that is, she can also clearly feel the feelings of other people's bodies. Because of this, the boy's desire to pee was conveyed to her intact. However, Ino had no intention of peeing. In other words, it was precisely because the boy wanted to pee that Ino didn't use his body to pee. It's all about winning. Chapter 91. Ino controlled the boy's body and returned to the scene, then she sat down cross-legged. From time to time, some teenage friends came over to say hello, but she kept a tight face and ignored them. Although the urge to urinate in her bladder gradually increased, for Ino, this level of urge to urinate was enough for her to bear. After a while, when the game was about to start and Mr. Iruka was already calling people, Ino smiled. Victory is close at hand. Then Ino withdrew from the opponent's body, then controlled his own body and ran over quickly. Iruka-sensei, I need to use the bathroom. What time is it? Let's finish the fight first and then talk about it. Iruka waved his hand. He had given him enough time just now. If it was really necessary, he would have gone to the toilet long ago. If I want to go now, I'm definitely not in a hurry. The young man covered his trouser pockets and twisted his legs. He just wanted a quick victory now. Just then, Ino arrived at the scene. She was panting slightly, and in order not to let Mr. Iruka delay the test, she deliberately ran over as fast as she could. Ino, be careful, he is very strong. The girls who usually gather together tried to dissuade him. As Sasuke's support group, these girls are actually quite united. Ino, if you can't beat me, just admit defeat. My business doesn't matter. Ino's friend whose clothes were torn by Akamaru also said the same. At least, no matter who it was, they didn't feel confident that Ino could win. However, Ino just said emotionally, Iruka-sensei, I'm ready. Fighting sometimes only lasts a moment. After a moment, either you have no mother, or I have no mother. And now, Ino is very confident. In this battle, she has no mother, she is an emotionless orphan. After all, orphans are truly invincible, and ruthless. Ino, don't hide if you have the guts. The boy wanted to have a head-to-head confrontation with Ino and achieve a quick victory. But Ino was always dodging. Although Ino was not as fast as the boy, her sensitivity was not bad either. But now the boy wanted to pee, so his movements were slow. The key to victory or defeat lies in whether the boy can defeat Ino before his bladder bursts. Of course, there is actually another possibility. That is, the boy peed his pants before his bladder burst, and then abandoned his self-esteem to fight Ino with his pants wet. Ino knew that this would be a battle in which he could see whether the boy had the potential to become a top-notch person and survive on the battlefield. If the boy has such qualities, then Ino may even have to use the last resort in this battle, which is to use the opponent's body to make the opponent admit defeat. However, this method is actually not easy to use in actual combat tests, at least whether Mr. Iruka will admit it or not. Moreover, whether the other party will give him a chance to form a seal is also a question. At this time, Ino had a deeper and deeper understanding of his father's teachings. If she can form the seal quickly enough at this moment, then do she still need to worry about whether she can form the seal? The two are in such a chase. Finally, when the boy felt that he could no longer stop peeing, he couldn't help but give up. Iruka-sensei, I give up, let me pee. It's just a practical test, there is no need to wrong yourself so much. The boy convinced himself in this way and became the kind of person Ino thought he was, who did not have the qualities to become a first-rate ninja. Ah, I understand, go ahead. At this time, Iruka finally noticed something was wrong with the boy. The boy actually wanted to pee. When the boy heard Iruka's words, he ran away as fast as possible, fearing that he would wet his pants if he ran late. Ino had won. Although it felt like she had lost something, another feeling that replaced her was so good. This feeling was different from licking Sasuke, it was a more pleasurable feeling. Licking Sasuke was always treated coldly by him. Although Ino was still licking, it was mostly just a dispute with Sakura. Although it can be very happy occasionally, in fact, it is usually not that happy. It's just that there is nothing to do, so I go to lick it. But the pleasure of using your mind, tactics, and abilities to defeat your opponent is completely different from the feeling of licking Sasuke. Ino felt so good all over. Is this what it feels like to be a winner? It's so addictive. After the test, Ino first expressed her happiness to a group of friends, and then went to the toilet. She looked at the mirror inside and said to her own image reflected in the mirror, "You can do it, Yamanaka Ino. Next in this battle, even if Sasuke stands in front of you, you will still win." After winning such an almost impossible test, Ino now didn't want to lose at all. She already had the taste of victory, and could no longer imagine how depressing it would be to lose the test, even if it was Sasuke. Because, originally, she believed that there was a certain gap between herself and others, so she did not have high expectations for victory. It was precisely because of this that she ran to lick Sasuke. It was precisely because she knew her limits that she gave up her efforts. After all, her ultimate ability is there, so what's the use of trying hard? But now it is different. She has a chance to win, she can win. For the first time, she knew that she might be able to become number one in the Ninja Academy's actual combat test, superior to the boys. At this moment, Ino had a feeling. Even if she didn't hesitate to make Sasuke pee his pants on the spot, she felt like she wanted to win. She is so eager to win now. Ino patted her cheek and tried to calm down. Then, He turned around and left gracefully. However, there was a light group on the ground that she couldn't see. And this light group happened to be discovered by someone again. Naruto said that he had never been interested in entering the women's restroom or anything like that. But, Naruto pretended to walk by the women's toilet casually, and then glanced at the ball of light inside. This light ball, I really want to pick it up. But, as a boy, how could he enter the women's restroom? If you go in, you will be beaten to death by the girls. But, Naruto pretended to pass by the women's restroom again, and then took a look at the eyeball. He really wanted to pick up this light ball. Who can this light group summon? I'm super curious. By the way, here, it's the time for the transformation technique to come on stage. As long as he transforms into a female form, he will definitely be safe if he goes in. Naruto thought for a while and was about to find an opportunity to use his shadow clone and enter in female form. Suddenly there was a voice. Hurry up, the person who was peeping in the women's bathhouse just now ran from here, catch him quickly. As the voice fell, a white-haired figure passed by. Behind him, several ninjas were chasing him. Naruto looked at a certain immortal who was leaving and stopped forming seals. In just a moment, he almost lost something very important and became a creature on the same level as Jiraiya. Even though his purpose was to pick up the light ball, in essence, it was no different from Jiraiya's current behavior. If you tell the Uchiha uncles in the police force that this is a misunderstanding, will they believe you? Impossible. But, he really wanted to pick up this ball of light. After thinking about it, Naruto asked his mother for help. Mom, I'm in trouble now. I hope you can help me find a solution. After all, she is someone older than herself, so maybe there is something she can do. Kushina was wondering if there was anything she could do to help Naruto. When she heard this, she felt that an opportunity had come. Tell me, Naruto, we will try our best. A ball of light fell into the women's toilet. How should I go in and pick it up? Go in. Kushina was a little confused. This women's restroom was not a forbidden area. What was there to worry about? She could just walk in and be done with it. Naruto scratched his head, thinking about how to explain it to Kushina. Suddenly, his eyes lit up and he said, by the way, I can't go in, but Mom, you can go in. Mom, you go in later. Then, stop where I told you to. After I pick up the light ball, you come out. It is good. Kushina also realized at this time that she was a woman, so she could walk in, but Naruto was a man, so he really couldn't go in. However, although there was some misunderstanding just now, it was rare that she could help Naruto this time, and she still felt that she was of some use. After the two discussed it, Naruto handed over the ownership of his body to Kushina. Kushina used the transformation technique and transformed into her younger self. After all, he was using his son's body, and he couldn't wrap Naruto's body with his own or Kyuubi's chakra, so Kushina still had to use the transformation technique. Kushina, who had completed her transformation, came to the bathroom door. At this time, she discovered that there was another person standing at the door of the toilet, and this person was looking at her blankly. Although there is still a certain amount of time for Hinata's actual combat test, she plans to solve the physiological phenomenon first to avoid encountering the same situation as the boy just now. If something like that happened, Hinata felt that she might just stay at home and never come to the ninja academy for the rest of her life. However, if Naruto-kun peed his pants, he would just pretend it was nothing and forget about it. After all, Naruto-kun is such a sunny person. Then, when Hinata came to the door of the toilet, she saw a very beautiful and friendly elder sister, who was like a family member. For some reason, Hinata felt something similar to Naruto-kun from the other person. Moreover, maybe she was overthinking it, but she always felt that the other person's face was slightly similar to Naruto-kun. Of course, Hinata also felt that these thoughts must be her illusions. After all, Naruto-kun is an orphan, without a mother, father, or brothers and sisters. As for why Naruto-kun is an orphan, but he has such an illusion, maybe it is because he thinks too much when he meets Naruto-kun. Hinata was in a daze while thinking at the door. At this time, Kushina coughed and saw Hinata standing at the door, which interrupted her daze. Hinata finally came to her senses. Then, he quickly stepped aside and said like a waiter welcoming guests, sister, you go in first. Well, it doesn't matter, let's go in together. Kushina raised her eyebrows, but pushed hard, and then said, when you go to the toilet, you must have someone to accompany you. At this moment, she remembered her time at the Ninja Academy. Eat alone, go to the toilet alone, practice alone, study alone. It's a bit lonely and lonely. But then I met Minato. It became 2 people eating, 2 people practicing, and 2 people studying. Except for going to the bathroom, I was alone, so I wasn't that lonely. This time, it seemed that the opportunity was a bit rare, and Kushina also wanted to experience what it was like to go to the toilet with other people. It just so happened that Kushina also liked the girl in front of her, as if she was the one in the family who had the potential to be a daughter-in-law. It's just that the one with long hair looks like an older sister, and this one looks like a younger sister. As for whether the two are the same person. In other words, could this person be Hinata in this world? Kushina's thought was, how is that possible? These 2 people have such different personalities, how could they be the same person? After all, the 6th generation Hinata was the type who would push his son down if he wasn't careful. This person looks gentle and quiet. It is possible to say that they are sisters, but it is unlikely that they are the same person in different worlds. It's just a world apart, so it's impossible for the personality to be directly reversed like that. Hinata was half pushed and half pushed into the toilet. Kushina saw that she seemed very shy, so she said, how long have you been studying at the Ninja Academy? Me, this is my first year. The first year. I remember my first year at the Ninja Academy very fondly. Kushina suddenly recalled her first year at the Ninja Academy. It was really a colorful college life. When she came to the college, she beat someone because she laughed at her hair. She beat them to the point where her own mother didn't even recognize them. During dinner, because someone laughed at her hair, she beat them up until they were so beaten that even her own mother didn't recognize them. When she was practicing, she beat someone because she laughed at her hair, so much that her own mother didn't even recognize her. When she was studying, she beat someone because she laughed at her hair, so much that her own mother didn't even recognize her. When chatting with Minato, because someone laughed at her hair, she beat them up until they didn't even recognize her mother or father. So what is going on with these people? Why do they want to get close to her fist every day? Kushina shook her head, suddenly missing her classmates back then. If I have the chance, I really want to find another chance to beat them up. Kushina and Hinata kept chatting, and then, forgot to pick up the light ball. Naruto didn't pay attention to the surrounding environment because this was the women's restroom. As for Kushina, she was really ready to go to the toilet. But when she entered the toilet room, Kushina came back to her senses. This is not her body, it is her son's body. So, Kushina pretended to have finished using the toilet, and then hurried out. Then, she came to the location designated by Naruto. Naruto, where is the light group you mentioned? Naruto took over the vision for a bit and then told Kushina. Kushina touched it with her hand, but unfortunately she couldn't touch the ball of light. Naruto felt that he might need to touch it himself, so he took over the body again. Chakra is needed to maintain ninjutsu. Because of this, when Naruto took over the body, Kushina's transformation technique was also released. Then, the toilet room opened, Hinata walked out, and looked at Naruto who was bending down, ready to pick up the ball of light. Being caught by Hinata at the door of the women's restroom, even with Naruto's current experience, he didn't know how to react for a moment. After a while, Naruto gritted his teeth and prepared to admit and apologize. Hinata, Naruto, let mom come. Naruto was stunned for a moment, but then he still believed in Kushina, his biological mother, and entrusted his body to her. After Kushina took over the body, she suddenly asked nervously, Hinata, are you okay? Were you seen by a white-haired old man just now? Hinata shook her head. No, I didn't see an old man with white hair either. That's good. Kushina patted her chest and said, after I saw you entering the toilet just now, there was a peeping thief wandering around here. I was worried that you would follow you. When Hinata heard this, smoke was rising from her head. Naruto-kun. Naruto-kun, you are worried about me. Okay, come to your senses, Hinata. Kushina said. It is not suitable to stay here for a long time, I will retreat first. Kushina said in her heart. Naruto, prepare to take over the body. Single quote. Kushina said, suddenly making somersault movements. Hinata, remember not to tell others about my time here. Okay, Kushina said to herself. When you leave, you should be careful not to leave any traces. Otherwise, I was only here because I was worried about Hinata, but it would be bad if others misunderstood me as being a voyeur. Watch me, Naruto, doing somersaults. Kushina jumped back and somersaulted with the agility of a monkey, and as soon as she jumped up, Naruto took over. Then, Naruto knowingly picked up the light ball that fell to the ground at the moment of handing over his body. Picked up one fragment of Yamanaka Ino, president of Yamanaka Communication Company, Limited, 1/10. Because the situation was urgent, Naruto did not listen to the name of the fragment, but continued to do a backflip, using his hands to exert force on the ground very sensitively, and then jumped out of the women's toilet. Naruto came outside the women's restroom, waved to Hinata inside, and then quickly slipped away. After Naruto ran to a deserted place, he said to Kushina, Mom, you are so awesome. I didn't know what to do just now, and I was ready to admit it. I didn't expect you to treat Grandpa Jiraiya as an excuse. Jiraiya-sama, that's all it can do. Naruto was ashamed. It was too much to say Grandpa Jiraiya like this. He was not the third Hokage or Danzo, so he would not just take the blame. Naruto waited until he was out of the awkward situation before he had time to pay attention to the information about the fragments. Naruto was certain that this fragment of a Kage-level ninja did not come from the first main space, that is, the world where the 6th generation Hinata was. As for whether it was the second or the third, Naruto didn't know. But, in this case, Naruto showed a strange expression. New Naruto's memory. Will he be like Naruto Namikaze before him, a charismatic ninja? Single quote. Namikaze Naruto may not have the strength beyond common sense like the 6th generation Hinata, but his study of ninjutsu makes him charming. Naruto suppressed the tremor in his heart. The most important thing now was the actual combat test. From Naruto's point of view, there were quite a few dangerous opponents in this actual combat test. I don't know if it was the butterfly effect, but after Naruto became Lao Yinbi, many Lao Yinbi suddenly appeared in the whole class. Ino, Shino, both are worthy opponents, but in terms of hard power, the most dangerous one is Sasuke. Single quote. In fact, in terms of hard power, Naruto is undoubtedly the strongest now, but he has no intention of exposing himself. After all, he will be noticed and eliminated by other old Yinbi. I am already high profile enough now, there is no need to show more. As for the outcome, if I think correctly, Ino and Shino should be thinking the same thing as me. Sasuke must first be excluded from this actual combat test. Quote. On a wall somewhere in the academy, Shino was leaning against the wall wearing sunglasses. Inuzuka Kiba walked in from outside. Akamaru kept barking at Shino's position. Akamaru, don't worry, Shino is not here to plot against me. Yeah, I plan to join forces with you for this actual combat test. As a token of our sincerity, I promise not to use parasites to suck your chakra off-site during our cooperation. Inuzuka Kiba asked, are there any other partners besides me? No, who is the first person to be excluded? Sasuke. When Inuzuka Kiba heard the name, he immediately said without hesitation, okay, I'll cooperate with you. I've long been unhappy with Sasuke. It's a pleasure to work with you, this is my plan. Shikamaru, it's almost our turn for the game. Why did Ino ask us to come here? How do I know? Shikamaru yawned boredly, but this was an appearance, but in fact, Shikamaru's heart was full of doubts and warnings. Starting today, Shikamaru no longer regards Ino as an ordinary female ninja. Ino has changed and become more like a ninja. Shikamaru and Choji walked all the way to the classroom. Ino was in the classroom, she was standing in front of the window, the curtains were open, she was holding lipstick and applying it. She always likes to dress up, so it's not surprising that she does this. At this time, Ino put down the lipstick and asked, Shikamaru, lipstick is a good thing, don't you think? Quote. You have indeed become different, Ino. Shikamaru put away his lazy expression and said seriously. What's different is that I'm not dressing up all the time like I used to be. The same action has different intentions because of different moods. Shikamaru said. although you are dressing up now, you are not dressing up. Ino, you are dressing up to disguise yourself and let others I think you are still the beauty-loving girl you used to be, or that you plan to carry this disguise through to the end. Of course, there is another point. You are testing me by asking this. Past, Shikamaru. Ino put away her lipstick, found a chair and sat down, sitting upright. Come to cooperate, Shikamaru. Me, you and Choji are Ino Shikacho, and we are destined to be a team. In this case, there is no need for us to antagonize each other. You make sense. But, Shikamaru asked at this time, are you referring to me, you, or me, you and Choji? You and I plus Choji or Inagacho. Okay, I'll cooperate with you. Shikamaru got the answer he wanted and agreed immediately. If Ino despises Choji, then Shikamaru will not cooperate with her. Even if he is destined to be in the same team as Ino in the future, he will not cooperate with her. Don't ask me, what do you want me to do when I cooperate with you? Shikamaru said. Deal with Sasuke. Although this is indeed the case, why don't we deal with other people and let us work together to reach the top? Ino asked in confusion. Sasuke is an opponent who cannot be defeated without a strategy and cannot be circumvented. As for the others, our strength will not be too far apart from each other. Sure enough, Shikamaru, it was right to ask you to cooperate. Shikamaru asked with great interest at this time, but, Ino, what made you feel like you are now, that you would not hesitate to attack Sasuke for the sake of victory? Ino didn't mean to hide anything, it's just a change in mentality. I used to have no obsession with winning or losing, but now, I want to win very much. Shikamaru was thoughtful, and then said, not to mention this, since Ino you are asking us to cooperate, what should you have planned? Of course, Ino said confidently, although it is a three-person collaboration, what I really need this time is Shikamaru, but it is not your mind, but your Nara family's medicinal reserve. Shikamaru, I need two kinds of medicine, one that can be blended into black tea to make people sleepy, and the other that can take effect quickly if a large amount is obtained in the shortest possible time without any subsequent adverse effects on the body. Medication that keeps loosening the bowels in a short period of time. Ino, you, Shikamaru showed a slightly surprised expression. You really have to be able to do it. You have no objection. Ino and Shikamaru looked at each other, and then they both sneered at the same time. Suddenly I realized that the two of us are a bit similar. Choji, who was eating potato chips next to him, suddenly widened his little eyes. The dark aura surrounding these two people made him unable to get close. As for what they said, Choji said he didn't understand it at all. Sasuke was about to pick up the kettle and drink water. Suddenly, he paused for a moment and still didn't drink it. Because he remembered the tragic situation of the classmate who was holding his urine, he didn't drink. He was worried that he would drink too much water, so when it came to the actual test, he also fell into the trap. But Sasuke's throat was indeed quite dry now. After thinking about it, Sasuke picked up the kettle and said, it shouldn't matter if you just drink a little. Single quote. Just then, Sakura let out a strange scream and bumped into Sasuke. Sasuke's kettle fell to the ground. He looked over and saw Sakura shouting to Ino behind her, Ino, what are you doing? Why did you push me? Ino made a face and ducked aside. Sakura stomped on the ground angrily and waved her fist. Sasuke looked at the empty water bottle in his hand, and his disgust towards these women became even stronger. Sakura is very confused now because she accidentally hit Sasuke and knocked over Sasuke's water bottle. Sasuke must hate me now, it's all Ino's fault. Single quote. Sakura huffed, if Ino hadn't pushed her, she wouldn't have hit Sasuke. At this moment, there was a thud and it turned out that Ino came over and placed a kettle on the ground. Ino said reluctantly, I'll give this to you and give it to Sasuke. I'm sorry, Sakura. Sakura frowned and asked, Ino, what are you planning? Did you put chili pepper in it or something to make Sasuke hate me after drinking it? No, I won't do such immoral things. It's just black tea. Do you want it? Ino seemed very angry. She threw the kettle on the ground and ran away. Sakura looked at the kettle and hesitated. If anything happens, I'll just say that Ino gave it to me. There won't be any problem. Sakura glanced at Sasuke, then made up her mind, picked up the kettle and trotted over to Sasuke. Sasuke-kun, this is black tea, just think of it as an apology. Quote. Sasuke glanced at Sakura and thought to himself, Sakura is not Naruto and other boys, she is his support club. Although he usually doesn't like it, Sasuke thinks that Sakura will not harm him. Thanks. When Sakura heard Sasuke's thanks, she felt as if she had found a treasure. It's okay, it was all my fault just now, hee. Sasuke drank the black tea. He was a little wary at first, but after making sure that the taste was normal and there was no peculiar smell, he drank it with confidence. After drinking the black tea, Sasuke felt a little sleepy. Then his eyes closed slightly, as if he was going to sleep. But at this moment, suddenly, Sasuke opened his eyes again. Sasuke's expression was as charming as a woman's at first, and then his expression gradually turned as cold as usual. He threw the kettle back to Sakura. I have to go to the toilet. Sakura looked at Sasuke from behind with red hearts in her eyes. Sasuke, so cool. Sasuke came to the corner. Only Shikamaru was here now. Shikamaru spit out 2 words, lapstick. Sasuke covered his lips with a charming expression. Shikamaru breathed a sigh of relief. Success, Ino, then let's move on to the next step. The second medicine you want is here. Shikamaru held out a water bottle and Sasuke drank it. Sasuke suddenly opened his eyes. I fell asleep just now. Sasuke looked around and found that he was standing in front of the toilet. Are you too sleepy? In the end, you even forgot to walk to the toilet. Sasuke frowned slightly, but since they all came to the toilet, Sasuke thought it was better to deal with it, so as not to be like the previous classmate who made a miscalculation because he didn't go to the toilet. At this moment, a dog barked, and Inuzuka Kiba came over with an Akamaru on his head. Hey, Sasuke, you come to the bathroom too. Kindness. Suddenly, Ya said, by the way, Sasuke, there is a little thing on your neck. Sasuke was suddenly startled. He stretched out his hand to his neck, and sure enough, he touched something. He grabbed the little thing out and said, sending bad bugs. Shino. Sasuke looked at Kiba in confusion and asked, why do you want to help me? I will win against you, and since I am going to win, of course I will do it with dignity. Sasuke looked at his teeth and suddenly found that he had a new understanding of this boy who usually only seemed very noisy. I will not lose. What a coincidence, I won't lose. The two of them said as they walked into the toilet together. Kiba stood relatively back, 2 steps away from Sasuke, and happened to see Sasuke's back full of parasites. Unexpectedly, the plan was much easier to implement than originally thought. Pretend to help Sasuke get rid of Shino's plot, and then make Sasuke relax and let him ignore this parasitic bug that he would never ignore. Single quote. When Sasuke returned, his opponent had just been decided. Sasuke, your opponent is Naruto. Sasuke looked at Naruto and thought to himself, he is really a suitable opponent. Sasuke sneered at Naruto and said, Crane Tail, although you have used some crooked tricks, it won't work for me. I am the number 1 in the academy. Naruto nodded, feeling a little dazed at the same time. He thought that he had not exerted his strength yet. Although he had thought about doing something to Sasuke, he did not expect to meet Sasuke right away. Son, there's something wrong with his chakra, it's almost all gone. However, although only the epidermis was left, this part of the epidermis was very technical, so he did not even realize that his chakra was empty. Single quote. Seeing this, Naruto subconsciously looked towards Shino. Shino put his hands in his pockets, his teeth next to him. Shino, Naruto looked over, did you notice it? Kindness. What about Sasuke? Will Sasuke find out in advance? No, when the parasitic bug sucked Sasuke's chakra, I specially left something like a chakra shell. Unless he uses ninjutsu directly, Sasuke will not find that he has no chakra. Naruto looked away. Judging from the reactions of Shino and the others, it was probably true that Sasuke's chakra was drained. Now that Sasuke has lost his chakra, even if I win this battle, it won't attract anyone else's attention. Single quote. If Naruto beats Sasuke, it can also be said to be a victory in taijutsu, not to mention that taijutsu also requires chakra. When Sasuke has no chakra, it can no longer be said to be taijutsu but a fighting skill. Under Iruka's instructions, Naruto and Sasuke formed the seal of opposition. The moment Sasuke finished forming the seal, he immediately rushed towards Naruto. I only need a moment to deal with the crane tail. After Sasuke finished speaking, he suddenly knelt on the ground and held his stomach. Sasuke's expression changed due to his stomach rumbling, and he shouted to Naruto, "Crane tail, are you plotting against me?" "No, not me." The students next to me still couldn't understand. "What happened, Sasuke? Is it possible that you were intimidated by Naruto's powerful aura? Naruto is just a laggard, how can he get such a strong aura?" "No, that was before. Naruto has undergone quite a change recently." Under the discussion of the students, Iruka stepped forward and asked, "Sasuke, are you having a stomachache?" Although Sasuke didn't want to admit it, he still nodded with difficulty. "Yes, Iruka-sensei, but it doesn't matter, I can get rid of this crane tail in a moment." "Then stop for now and go to the bathroom. We'll wait until you finish your test." In view of the situation of the previous students, Iruka had already determined in his mind that once a similar unexpected situation occurs in the future, he must try to keep both parties alive for as long as the fight can be completed, but only in this special situation. Iruka couldn't find a reason to keep Ino waiting when he was holding back his urine. However, Sasuke suddenly had a stomachache, so he could still find an excuse if he wanted to. Sasuke hesitated for a moment, but accepted Iruka's kindness and quickly ran to the toilet. Skipping the pair of Naruto and Sasuke, the others continued. When Naruto walked to the side, he glanced at Ino. Ino looked up and swam away. It was obvious that she had done this. However, Shino and Ino's actions were within Naruto's expectations. As expected, the two of them started to cheat on Sasuke. Normally, there is no suspense about the outcome of this game. Single quote. It took Sasuke 2 hours of pulling before he came out of the toilet. Sasuke, who had been so high-spirited before, stood in front of Naruto at this moment, but he looked like a man who had been squeezed dry, or a cow that had been plowed. However, Sasuke's fighting spirit is still there. "Uzumaki Naruto, although you have plotted against me and my feet are weak now, the battle of ninjas is the battle of ninjutsu, and my ninjutsu is superior to yours." Quote. At this time, Iruka asked the two to start. Sasuke formed a seal with his hands, and the anger he had been feeling for 2 hours finally exploded at this moment. Fire release, the art of the great fireball. The scene Sasuke thought would happen. A huge fireball erupted, burning Naruto until he was hammering the ground while screaming in pain. Actual scene. The dragon roars. Belch. After Sasuke let out a breath, the students watching started talking in confusion. Does Uchiha's fire release look like this? Is it invisible fire escape? Sasuke finally noticed it at this time, and his expression changed drastically. My chakra, why is my huge pile of chakra gone? Crane tail, did you steal my chakra? Sasuke was furious. No, it's not me. Naruto pointed at Shino off the court and said, there is only one person in our class who can steal chakra. You, female, Nai. Sasuke's eyes almost turned red. Such humiliation almost made him feel bad. Shino said coldly, this is my law of victory. Although Sasuke was tricked by Shino, as Shino said before, although this kind of victory is a bit despicable, only a ninja who is despicable can live longer. So what if I don't have chakra? Sasuke was full of energy and wisdom. Even if I, Uchiha Sasuke, don't have any chakra in my body, I am still invincible in the Ninja Academy. Sasuke walked forward, but as soon as he took half a step, he half knelt on the ground. The reason was for no other reason than that his feet were weak. Sasuke's right hand was trembling and he was holding down the ground. Not only was his foot weak, but his hand was also weak because he had just pulled out too many things. However, Uchiha Sasuke is unyielding. Even though his feet are weak and his hands are weak, he is still the number one in the academy. Uzumaki Naruto, I want. Just then, a hand was placed in front of Sasuke. Sasuke, let me help you up. As for the victory or defeat, we will talk about it later. Even if I defeat you like this, I won't be able to defeat you. Naruto said with a gentle smile. Seeing this, the anger in Sasuke's heart subsided at this moment. He stretched out his hand to hold Naruto's hand, but as arrogant as he was, he still snorted, even if you help me up, I can't waterproof it. At this moment, Naruto suddenly grabbed Sasuke's hand with his backhand, then followed the arm that grabbed his hand and threw him out with force. Bang! There was a shaking sound on the ground. There was Sasuke, who fell to the ground and let go helplessly. There was Iruka and other students who were watching in shock. There was Kushina inside Naruto, who was speechless. And Naruto's cold smile. A qualified old yinbi, but he is always cheating on people. Iruka-sensei, declare who wins this. Naruto, this is your victory. I don't know how long it took, but when Sasuke woke up, today's actual combat test was over. And because Sasuke was eliminated in the first round and couldn't wake up later, he became the weakest person in the actual combat test. As for Naruto and the others, after a fierce battle, in the end, although Naruto took first place, he was not first but tied for first place with Shino. When Sasuke woke up, he happened to see Naruto, who was full of regret when it was announced that he was tied for first place. What a pity. Since I am not the only first place, forget what I said before. After Sasuke woke up, he also went to Iruka to get his results. Iruka was also a little dumbfounded by the results. He patted Sasuke on the shoulder and said, Sasuke, this is just an accident. It is not a reflection of your strength. No need grieving. Sasuke was silent, looking out the classroom window. The weather is obviously sunny today, but why does the heavy rain in my heart keep falling? Everyone is obviously laughing, but why is it only my face that is full of tears? I am number one, but I am not number one. I didn't become the first, but I became the last. Sasuke, take this crutch and bring it back to me tomorrow. Sasuke took the crutches, hobbled out with the crutches, but his mood was extremely solemn. How should I explain it to my father after I go back? The Uchiha who cannot become the number one is no longer needed, and the person who has become the last one is not worthy of the surname Uchiha at all. Feeling restless, Sasuke saw his brother Itachi at the door. Itachi, who always had a frown on his face, had calmed down a bit recently. Brother Weasel. Yes, Sasuke. Itachi responded casually, while mentally recalling the information he had previously received from Shisui. I didn't expect that my half-brother would. After several days of accumulation and precipitation, Danzo was finally able to open the box with trembling hands. Inside the box, there was only a piece of paper. There was nothing long or affectionate written on the piece of paper. Just a simple sentence. I believe in you. Danzo's hands couldn't stop shaking, his breathing became rapid, he closed his eyes, and said with some annoyance, just such a sentence makes me feel that all my hard work has not been in vain. I understand what you mean. No matter how many people who accompany me will leave on the way, no matter how many difficulties I will encounter on the way. But as long as I don't give up, the road will continue to stretch. Effort will not be in vain. Danzo stood up, his back that had become a little rickety recently straightened up again at this moment. When Lord Tobirama asked me, I answered that I can sacrifice for the village. This time, it is no exception. Even if I, Danzo Shimura, am not as strong as others, I will still struggle and do what I can do. First, I'm going to once again call on the members of the Root Organization. Danzo summoned all the members of the Root Organization through the few remaining connections with the Root Organization. Danzo's eyes swept over these people. There was sadness in their eyes, some were unwilling to give up, and some were confrontational, but without exception, they were all unwilling to disband the Root Organization. The sound in his throat was so thick that he didn't sound like an old man, but at the voice of an energetic young man. The Root Organization will not disappear. Maybe one day, the Root Organization will be disbanded, but the Root Organization will not deteriorate. Even if the Root Organization is really disbanded at the request of Sarutobi, you all have a heart in your heart, root tissue. We are the roots of Konoha. As long as Konoha still exists and as long as Konoha still needs us, we will always exist. Next, I will take the initiative to negotiate with the third Hokage. No matter whether it succeeds or not, we are the Root. Under Danzo's exciting speech, Root Organization's mental state temporarily stabilized. However, Danzo knew that if he wanted to prevent the Root Organization from being disbanded, the next meeting with the third Hokage was the key. The third Hokage has always wanted to disband the Root Organization, but he couldn't find a good excuse. Danzo's previous decadence just gave the third Hokage an excuse. Now, Danzo needs to convince the third Hokage. Danzo stepped into the Hokage's office. Sarutobi, here I come. Kindness. Danzo scanned the surroundings and found that there were no ninjas protecting Naruto. He made a decision in his mind. Hiruzen, it seems that you have been waiting for me for a long time. Yes, Danzo, I have been waiting for you for a long time. Judging from your expression, you must have recovered. The third Hokage raised his head with a cold expression, completely different from the third Hokage who always gave people a gentle image. Your expression now truly matches the image of that shinobi hero. Danzo said. After all, I am old and no longer a shinobu hero, so I have been patient with you, Danzo. The third Hokage said, I will turn a blind eye to some things. However, it's because I can't find a reason. Just like the root organization you established, from the beginning to now, too many excellent Anbu ninjas have been separated from me. The villagers of Konoha know that Naruto is the center of the village, but the roots of Konoha only know Danzo, which is not good. But because I couldn't find a reason, I never took action, and you gave me the opportunity to do it. Quote. These words, Danzo's cold cheek revealed some joking. No wonder you asked everyone else to leave. These are not words that can be said to others and put on the table. So, Danzo, you should know my attitude. Why do you still seem to have no intention of giving up? Why, Danzo said, because I have a perfect plan. Whether it's the emotion card, the power card, or other cards, I know I can't convince you. But, Danzo said seriously, I have allowed the root tissue to remain, and the benefits outweigh the harm to you. Reasons. Quote. Say. The third Hokage initially planned not to allow Danzo to say anything as his attitude, no matter what Danzo said, but Danzo's words changed his mind. I am going to make Namikaze Sasuke the leader of the root organization. Hearing this, the third Hokage was stunned at first, but then he did not refuse immediately, but frowned and asked, do you want to take advantage of the conflict between Mr. Madara and Mr. Hashirama of the Namikaze family and then draw chestnuts from the fire to maintain balance? Yes, Danzo, this is playing with fire. No matter which of the two tigers is stronger, they are both unambiguous when it comes to eating herbivorous prey. Hiruzen, you are the Hokage. You should be able to see the current situation more clearly than me. Quote. In silence, the third Hokage agreed to Danzo's plan. As one of the two representatives of the Namikaze family who has appeared, Sasuke with the Samsara Eye has the ability to compete with the 6th generation Hinata. When the news spread that Sasuke, the Rinnegan, was about to take over as the leader of the root organization, there were different opinions in the village. Some agree, some disagree, and some are on the fence. Some people think that the third Hokage is usually soft-hearted, and they plan to rub him off and let him postpone this decision. However, this time, the third Hokage showed a different and resolute attitude than usual. Itachi also received the news. This was his half-brother, but he became the leader of the root organization established by Danzo, who had always had a bad opinion of the Uchiha clan. The twists and turns involved were completely unexpected by Itachi. Unfortunately, with my current position, I have no chance to contact my eldest brother. If the Uchiha clan is not in this situation now, then I can pass the promotion of Anbu, enter the root organization, and observe my elder brother from a close distance. Single quote. Itachi couldn't help but sigh slightly. Sasuke, even though we are both brothers, sometimes we always have to take different trajectories. When Sasuke heard this, his heart skipped a beat. Maybe brother Itachi knew about my actual test of the crane tail. Now that brother Itachi knows, his father must also know. Single quote. Sasuke didn't know how he should feel, but now that Fugaku knew about it, Sasuke felt less stressed. Both sides wanted to be embarrassed, but Sasuke still wanted to choose the shame that others knew, rather than the shame that he said himself. However, brother Itachi usually doesn't try to bully me with words, so why should he explain this time that his two brothers and I have different circumstances and talents? Single quote. Sasuke then said goodbye to the somewhat worried Itachi Uchiha and found his father Fugaku in the hall. Fugaku was often stern, and this time was no exception. The moment Sasuke saw him, the pressure that had been relieved increased like a mountain again. Father, Sasuke's voice was timid. Well, Fugaku asked. Your actual combat test today is to face Naruto Uzumaki. What is the result? Father, I lost. It was unspeakable for Sasuke to lose to a loser. When he said this, he spoke as fast as he could squeeze out toothpaste. After Sasuke finished speaking, he waited for Fugaku to be disappointed. But who would have thought that when Fugaku heard this, he, who had always been serious about words, clapped his hands and said, "Okay, good loss." Father. It was as if Sasuke was meeting his father Fugaku for the first time. He saw a completely unfamiliar Fugaku. You are Sasuke. This kind of victory is not a battle on the battlefield. There is no need to force victory. Moreover, the one you lost was Uzumaki Naruto of the Namikaze family, so there is no need to feel ashamed. Fugaku's words showed his appreciation for Naruto, and this attitude made Sasuke feel aggrieved. Not only did I lose the outcome, but I felt like I also lost other important things. Single quote. Sasuke couldn't help but get excited and said, "Father, next time I will definitely win." Okay, you have good consciousness. Fugaku interrupted him and praised, "That's it. Not only will you lose this time, but you will lose next time as well. You must keep losing and you can't win." Sasuke was stunned, feeling a little depressed, and his whole outlook collapsed with Fugaku's words. The proud Uchiha has now become. Wait, father, you said Naruto is from the Namikaze clan. Yes, I have always wanted to find a chance to tell you about this, but I didn't have time. Haha, I understand. Single quote. Sasuke smiled bitterly in his heart. Father, if there is nothing else, please allow me to step back. Sasuke walked out step by step. His steps were heavy, unusually heavy. Finally, I understand. Single quote. Why did brother Itachi, who never talked about our talents and comforted me gently, suddenly say that the two brothers have different trajectories? Single quote. Why is it that my father, who has always been strict and paid little attention to me when I became the number one in my grade in the academy, and who often compares me with the talented Itachi brother, doesn't care at all this time whether I can win or not? Single quote. There's only one answer. Single quote. That is Uzumaki Naruto is actually Namikaze Naruto. Single quote. So the brothers that brother Itachi talks about are not brother Itachi and me, but Naruto and me. Single quote. So even if I lose, my father doesn't care at all, and is even very happy. This is because no matter who loses or wins, it is the victory of the Uchiha clan, and if I lose, it proves that Naruto is an Uchi who surpasses me. Wave genius. Single quote. What's blocking the sight of my eyes? Ah, it turns out. Sasuke raised his head, the sky turned dark, thunder sounded, and rain fell. Quote. It's the rain that makes it hard for me to see ahead. Naruto's house was filled with celebrations. The sixth generation Hinata was holding a series of things to celebrate her birthday, as well as instant noodles with candles. Naruto-kun, congratulations on getting number 1 in the actual combat test. Naruto said a little embarrassedly, this is not something that needs to be celebrated. Of course we have to celebrate. This is Naruto's first wonderful moment. Unfortunately, I was not there at the time and couldn't take pictures. Hinata said regretfully, and then said, never mind that, Naruto, hurry up and eat. Well, if you don't eat it, the instant noodles will get cold. Naruto and 6th generation Hinata started eating instant noodles again. The 6th generation Hinata was eating noodles and said, by the way, Naruto, is there anything interesting happening in the academy today? So there is. Naruto recalled the scene of picking up the light ball today. He said, today I went into the women's restroom to pick up the fragments. Well, I entered the women's restroom. 6th generation Hinata nodded first, and then suddenly his expression froze. Hey, no, Naruto, why didn't you tell such an important thing from the beginning? This is nothing compared to number 1 is much more important. Is that so? Naruto didn't think this matter was important. Of course it's important, Naruto, hurry up and explain the cause and effect in detail. Okay, Naruto briefly summarized the matter. However, just Naruto's simple summary made the 6th generation Hinata feel like she was about to burst into tears. What an important first moment I missed. After feeling regretful, the 6th generation Hinata suddenly thought thoughtfully. Speaking of which, Kushina's mother throwing the blame to Jiraiya-sama is almost the same as me throwing the blame to that man. Sure enough, they are not a family, not just one family. Single quote. This skill of shirking the blame can be regarded as a traditional skill of the women of the Namikaze family. Single quote. Hinata, what are you thinking? The sixth generation Hinata shook his head and said, no. Naruto, although you got number 1 in the actual combat test this time, you still did not become the squad leader as promised. From now on, you should not take this as your goal, right? Well, I have thought about becoming the class president, but if I can't do it this time, I won't put my mind into it. Naruto affirmed. Ranking first in the Ninja Academy may be quite important, but for a position like class president, it doesn't matter much. In short, this is not the direction Naruto strives for. Sixth generation Hinata said. In this case, there is a place I would like to recommend you to go to, Naruto. Where? A great place to cultivate people. The sixth generation Hinata looked at the window. That direction is where the root organization is, and that place will have some changes recently. For you, Naruto, it is just a place suitable for quickly training the infiltration skills of integrating into an unfamiliar environment. For ninja skills, although actual ninjutsu combat is very important, intelligence collection, intelligence analysis, and infiltration investigation are also important. Although you have this memory, to transform the memory into actual operation, you still need to experience it yourself. Naruto nodded and said, okay, I'll go. Well, I will help arrange the specific time. Although the sixth generation Hinata has no dealings with Rinnegan Sasuke, she can ignore this incompatibility when it comes to cultivating Naruto's abilities. By the way, Naruto, who is the ninja who will come here this time? It's Ino, but she's not the Ino from your world. Naruto frowned and said, because she's very strange, so I'm not sure if she will be hostile to me. Anyway, try to summon it first. If something happens, I will help you take care of it. The sixth generation Hinata said in his heart, at least, during this period of time, I will help you find out. Single quote. More than half a month had passed since Naruto summoned her, and there was still less than 2.5 months left for her to teach Naruto the ability to survive in this cruel world faster and more. Single quote. After a dinner celebration that was a little noisy, but actually just the same instant noodles as usual, Naruto returned to the room and opened the book again. There is one more shard that can be summoned. Now Naruto has 2 pieces in his hand that he has the chance to summon. One is the fragment of Ino he just picked up, and the other is the fragment of his father's Jinchuriki left behind by his previous father. However, the father's Jinchuriki fragment requires Naruto to master the Flying Thunder God technique. Because Naruto has the bloodline of the Uzumaki clan, the difficulty level of learning the sealing technique is relatively easier. Although Naruto can advance the speed bar with the Flying Thunder God technique, it is obviously much slower and takes several days. As for the newly added fragment of Ino, you can try summoning it directly now. Naruto opened the book and chose to summon. What is Naruto like this time? This is. Naruto's face was full of astonishment. He never expected that himself, in this world would develop like this. The development experience of Naruto in this world can be described as a life that is so simple that it can almost be said to be a secondhand. Not a protagonist, not a villain, not a contributor, just a sidekick. This bit player does not mean that he was born ordinary, but that he left the show early. Quote. This life is too dramatic to make people laugh. If Naruto were asked to tell whether he would be killed by a boss early if he followed the plot in the book, then Naruto's answer would be affirmative, yes. After all, reality is not a game. It is not surprising that you are defeated by a boss at a certain turning point because of a small unnoticed variable. However, the way Naruto died in this world was even more outrageous. When I was forming a genin team for a mission, because I was pestering Sakura, I was accidentally punched in the vital part by Sakura's brain-breaking punch, so I died immediately. This way of death was too much. This is a meaningless death, worthless to describe, it is simply full of malice. Naruto doesn't have any strong dislike or liking for his own death in this world. He is only confused. If I die here, what will the world become like after that? The Kyuubi Jinchuriki was beaten to death by Sakura, which was roughly equivalent to Black Zetsu. The plan of Uchiha Madara and Uchiha Obito failed from the beginning, and this group of people was simply confused. The majestic Nine-Tails Jinchuriki was killed by a punch, and was directly defeated by the synthesis opportunity of the sacred tree. If you want to reunite the 10 tails, the chakra of the 9-tailed beasts is the most basic condition. Even if the chakra of the tail is incomplete, the 10 tails can still be fused based on several complete-tailed beasts. According to the records in the book, although Obito in the future fused the 10 tails incompletely, the chakra of the 9 tails used by Obito at that time was obtained from the Golden Horn and Silver Horn. The Golden Horn and the Silver Horn were reincarnated from the dirty earth assembled from the collected corpses. If you want to achieve this condition, you must borrow Orochimaru's power, and Orochimaru must be able to assemble the corpse of Jin Zhao. After all, these things mean that when the Akatsuki organization collects tailed beasts, they must explain the conditions for merging tailed beasts. It can be said that if these conditions come together, it is almost as coincidental as a dream. It's a bit outrageous, this world. I don't know where the summoned Ino will appear or if she will come to you. I'm really interested in asking her about things in this world. Naruto murmured. When Naruto tried to summon Ino. In the sky above Konoha, a woman wearing a close-fitting white suit with twin ponytails and a smile on her face walked out of it. Another world. The Naruto-kun of this world is still alive. The woman's eyes showed a complicated taste. In this world, there is only one thing I want to do, and that is to let you live. But, it seems that my wish is not that simple. She touched her chest. I don't know if I can think calmly now that my thoughts have gone bad. However, before that, there is one thing that must be dealt with first. She looked towards the distant sky. It was not somewhere on this planet, but somewhere outside the sky, extremely far away. The woman formed a seal with her hands, and her soul flew away from the planet in an instant, all the way to the depths of the moon. Then, somewhere deep into the moon. Here, a soul is sleeping. The woman said, Miss Kage, it's 3 o'clock. She's out for afternoon tea. The woman didn't know what method she used. Soon, the soul that was sleeping in the moon and could not be awakened unless the letter was released because it was sealed, woke up. The conversation came from the hazy consciousness. You are who? My name is Ino Yamanaka, and I am one of the people who was born from this planet and possesses chakra. You are a little thief. Miss Kage, although I'm sorry that your property has been dispersed by your stupid landowner son, I have a kind proposal as a member of society. I wonder if you are willing to accept it. You are a little thief. I'm going to open a Naruto-chan harem chakra stock market. Miss Kage, you just need to buy the chakra you own into the stocks. If the stock goes up, you can get more chakra. Maybe in just one night, you can get a huge amount of chakra. The thief, the chakra, is all mine. You can't say for sure, Miss Kage. The woman took out a scroll and took out what was hidden inside. The fruit of the divine tree. This shouldn't be Kage-san's chakra. Why, you have fruits of the sacred tree. I happen to have a teacher here who has injected capital into the stock. As for how this capital came, Miss Kage, how does the sacred tree bear fruit? The answer is that it requires the corpse of your Otsutsuki clan. That is to say, kill a member of the Otsutsuki clan will bear the fruit of a sacred tree, and in my hand, there are about 256. Of course, there were more in the past, but those have been used up. So, now, Kage miss, are you willing to believe that I, the banker, have enough capital to give you chakra? How, to become a shareholder? Well, I have to see the details. For now, I will temporarily bet on 2 stocks. One is Miss Hinata of Konoha village, she is considered your descendant, and the other is myself. Let me see. It doesn't matter, there's plenty of time, and there may be other new stocks in the future. When will new stocks appear? I don't know, but, the woman thought for a while and said, actually, if you are willing, you can also bring your own stocks into the market. I can too. Well, no problem. After all, you are all blood relatives for more than 3 generations, so it's not a big problem. I don't understand, but I can't trust you. Well, that's it for now. Miss Kage, let's talk when we have time. After the socialite Ino hung up the communication, he looked calmly at the strange building outside Konoha. No matter how you think about it, it's hard to understand that this is a structure developed by Konoha itself, and this chakra. Sure enough, besides me, there are summoned people from other worlds. Single quote. Socialite Ino thought for a moment and finally shook his head. It doesn't matter. Socialite Ino stepped in from outside Konoha. As soon as she got close to Gang Zite and Shenyu Izumo, she used ninjutsu to take away their consciousness. With the huge chakra gap, there are definitely not many ninjas who can stop the social man Ino. The existence of the social person Ino is equivalent to the aggregation of chakra. This chakra cannot be hidden at all. The first ones to notice were the 6th generation Hinata and the Rinnegan Sasuke. The 6th generation Hinata knew that Naruto had summoned another one, but she did not expect that this Ino's chakra would be so huge. 10 times the Kyuubi. Still 100 times the chakra of Kyuubi. Single quote. The 6th generation Hinata's eyes wrinkled slightly. The chakra of a normal ninja is generally not comparable to that of a tailed beast. For example, the most common normal Junin chakra represents Kakashi, and his chakra amount is considered normal among Jonins. The amount of chakra of Sasuke, the Rinnegan, is 50 times that of his, and Sasuke's chakra is still within the human range. A normal Jinchuriki will have an even greater amount of chakra due to long-term fights against tailed beasts. Calculated based on the one with the least amount of chakra, the chakra amount of a Jinchuriki will be 1.2 to 1.3 times that of Sasuke, the Rinnegan, which is equivalent to 65 to 80 times the chakra amount of Kakashi. Among them, the amount of chakra of the Nine Tails Jinchuriki has doubled. Since they are the Uzumaki clan and have been fighting against the Nine Tails chakra for a long time, their chakra amount must be at least 100 times that of Kakashi. However, the amount of chakra at the peak of the human category should be Senju Hashirama, which is estimated to be 300 to 500 times the amount of Kakashi's chakra. But even a human with peak chakra power like Senju Hashirama can't compare with a tailed beast. Among them, the chakra amount of the Nine Tails is equivalent to the total chakra amount of the other 8 tailed beasts. This is not the amount of chakra that humans can possess. However, now there is a person who has 10 times the amount of chakra, or maybe even more than this. How to describe this feeling? It was like an 81-tailed beast suddenly jumped out in front of me, an exaggerated sense of oppression. This kind of chakra individual is no longer the destroyer of villages, but should be called the destroyer of stars. The 6th generation of Hinata and the Rinnegan Sasuke act in tacit understanding at the same time. Ino, a walking socialite, raised his head, one to the left and one to the right. There was a person in the sky on both sides. The amount of chakra is obviously not huge enough. Why do you? Ino, a social worker, showed a hint of confusion. It doesn't look like he is weak. So what? Huge absorption power spread out, and in an instant, a certain energy disappeared throughout Konoha. Jiraiya, who was somewhere, widened his eyes. The power of nature is gone, it's empty, not a trace is left in the air. What's going on? Socialite Ino's pupils had eyeshadow. Anyway, let's do this first, and then. Ino, a socialite, wanted to take down these two people easily just like he did with the two Konoha gatekeepers just now. The art of immortality, the art of turning one's heart into immortality. However, it failed. Ino, a social worker, was slightly surprised. Could it be that you are Otsutsuki? The 6th generation Hinata and the 6th generation were silent at first, observing Ino, a social person. Now that they saw her breaking out into sage mode, they no longer had the intention to fight. Quote. Find a place to sit down and drink tea. 6th generation Hinata suggested. It's just me and you two girls. She looked at Rin and Sasuke and said, this man should not be interested. Sasuke, the reincarnation eye, said nonchalantly, as long as she doesn't hurt my sworn brother, I won't take action first. The 6th generation Hinata said, his adopted brother is Naruto-kun. Since you were also summoned, you should also be here for Naruto-kun. Okay, just the two of us, find a place to sit down and drink tea. A small shop. The 6th generation Hinata and the socialite Ino were drinking black tea. Just now, the 6th generation Hinata had already told everything they had done and what they could tell. After listening to the social man Ino, he didn't have any answer yet, he just drank tea there. I understand what you said. Ino, a social person, pointed at herself and said, Then, if there is no other Ino, I will be Namikaze Ino. What do you mean by Namikaze Ino? The 6th generation Hinata felt that this woman's Namikaze did not mean the same thing as the Samsara I Sasuke's Namikaze Sasuke. It's the Namikaze Ino who is the same as your Namikaze Hinata. Exclamation mark quote. The 6th generation Hinata's enemy detection radar instantly activated. This person is the enemy. And this is the type of enemy that cannot be eliminated with force. Single quote. Gu, if I had known, I wouldn't have let Naruto summon you. I didn't expect it to be a threat in this sense. The 6th generation Hinata said regretfully. Although, we are not necessarily enemies. Compared to the 6th generation Hinata, who still acts a little childishly, Ino, a social person, always behaves like a mature adult. I only have good thoughts about Naruto. Protect him. Of course, you may not believe it, but when I have time, I will tell you the reasons why I have such an idea. Can't you do it now? No, I still have to deal with some personal matters. After I finish handling this matter, I will tell the truth. Ino, a social worker, stood up and said, I want to find someone. You can follow me and stay by the side. Look at me, but don't stop me, or else. You are my enemy. At the end of the sentence, socialite Ino's voice turned cold and full of murderous intent. The 6th generation Hinata nodded slightly, not sure if he agreed or not. After the 6th generation Hinata returned, he told Naruto what had happened. After hearing this, Naruto crossed his arms and said, although I don't know exactly what she plans to do, I know that what she plans to do must have something to do with Sakura. Sakura, you are Naruto's first love in this world, right? When the 6th generation Hinata said this, she kept staring at Naruto. I don't know if it counts. Although Naruto was sure that the Naruto in the book definitely regarded Sakura as his first love, he didn't necessarily think so. He didn't love Sakura to that extent before, but now he had almost forgotten that he had liked Sakura before. At this time, Kushina asked curiously, Naruto, what kind of person is this Sakura? A person who will punch me if I mess with her. She is very strong. Kushina heard this and exclaimed, why are you like Tsunade-sama? Naruto, such a girl cannot be a wife. Mom, don't forget that on the first day we met, even my father couldn't hold me back and beat me to death. Single quote. Naruto vaguely recalled the horrific story of how his mother died on the first day he met him. Naruto continued, Hinata, have you heard about what happened between Grandma Tsunade and Grandpa Jiraiya before? I heard Orochimaru-sensei say something about it. Grandpa Jiraiya has an almost fatal wound on his body, and this wound was caused by Grandpa Jiraiya peeping on Tsunade's mother-in-law taking a bath and being beaten. After hearing this, the 6th generation Hinata's eyes were dull for a moment, then he raised his hand and said, Naruto, do you want to take a bath with me? I promise not to beat you, and I will gently wipe your back. The 6th generation Hinata switched topics so smoothly that Naruto couldn't react and blinked rhythmically, I really want to agree. Single quote. We'll talk about it later, let's not talk about this for now. Naruto suppressed this strange thought and continued to talk about business. Although Ino's situation has nothing to do with Grandpa Jiraiya's incident, it does have certain reference significance. Actually, the me in the other world accidentally got punched in the vital part by Sakura, and then died. As soon as Naruto finished speaking, the chakra in his body could not be controlled for a moment. This was Kushina going berserk. As for the 6th generation Hinata, she was on autopilot without wind, her hair was spread out, and she was in a murderous state. Mom, Hinata, you too, calm down, this is something from another world, it didn't happen to me. But, the 6th generation Hinata said seriously, no matter which world you are Naruto from, you are all the same. The 6th generation Hinata had always thought that Naruto was Namikaze Naruto, and in fact she was right. It is also difficult for Naruto to say that he is not Namikaze Naruto. And now, Naruto also couldn't deny that he was not the Naruto who was punched to death by Sakura in that world. If you want to hate, you can only hate Sakura in that world. Naruto finally said. At least, it hasn't happened here yet, so we can't blame Sakura in this world. After all, it is just one of the possibilities, not something that has already happened. You cannot have too much awareness of things that have not happened yet. Really. The sixth generation Hinata slowly calmed down her murderous intention. Of course, this was only on the surface. In fact, she only had one thought in her heart. There is one more thing to do. When Naruto summons Sakura from that world, I will. Naruto glanced at the sixth generation Hinata and saw that although she seemed calm, her eyes were dull, and she obviously couldn't suppress the murderous intention in her heart. He knew that this matter was definitely not over. Even a person with Hinata's temper can't hide his murderous intent, I'm afraid. Sure enough, Kushina's voice came soon. Naruto, if that woman is summoned, then I will take over your body for a while. Yes, but, Mom, if I can really summon her, it means that she is very powerful, so you should pay attention. If this thing is true, then Naruto can't persuade Kushina. After all, he has been killed once. If Naruto in that world didn't die suddenly and didn't feel resentment because of it, then Naruto would really. I'm not sure if I will look at the individual existence of Sakura very calmly now. Kindness. Naruto saw that the atmosphere had become a little dull because of this incident, and he quickly said, Mom, Hinata, let's not talk about this for now. Regarding this woman's matter, we will consider the corresponding action after summoning her out later. Now we have to ask Ino have a plan for what you do. I want to meet Grandpa Jiraiya first. I hope to see if I can find some way to convince Ino based on the relationship between him and Grandma Tsunade. Hinata, please help me keep an eye on Ino during this period. Okay, leave it to me, Naruto. The sixth generation Hinata said, but his expression was a little more careless than before. If Ino came with sympathy and apology for Naruto, then what she wanted to do to Sakura would never be detrimental to Naruto. Since it is not hostility, there is no need for the sixth generation Hinata to block it. Especially after knowing what happened to Naruto in that world, the sixth generation Hinata became even less interested. Socialite Ino's infiltration was much smoother than that of sixth generation Hinata and Rinnegan Sasuke. It was not only the preliminary work done by the two of them, but also due to her huge chakra. As a ninja, no matter which ninja is facing such a huge amount of chakra, he will definitely not ignore it. The identity that Ino, a socialite, found for herself in Konoha was a little beyond Naruto's expectations. She actually went to Konoha Academy to become a teacher. Konoha Academy. Naruto followed closely behind the socialite Ino. At this time, Ino, a social worker, was carrying a stack of books in the corridor of the college with a smile on his face. Ino, a socialite, suddenly turned his head and said, "That yellow-haired guy over there, can you come over and help me?" Okay, Namikaze-sensei. Naruto stepped forward and helped the socialite Ino move 2/3 of the books. Originally, the tall books blocked the front, preventing Naruto from seeing the face of the social person Ino from the front. But now when 2/3 of the books were missing, the expression on the face of the social person Ino could be seen clearly. Naruto looked at the expression on her face and was a little touched. Regret, excitement, joy, and many other complex and difficult to understand emotions are in it. However, there is no hostility or confrontational emotion in it. Normally, human faces cannot make such complex expressions. However, when Naruto looked at Ino, a socialite, he had this emotion in it. First meeting, Naruto. And, I'm sorry. Ino, a social person, put the book on the ground, and then formed a seal with his hands. I want you to see such a complicated thing. Ino, a social person, didn't know what ninjutsu was used. Her expression was still the same, and the expression on her face did not change. However, the previous complicated emotions disappeared instantly. What I have to do will require dealing with a lot of people. Therefore, I usually use special secret techniques to let others see the image I want others to see. However, if my emotions get out of control, then this jutsu will also get out of control, as it did just now. Are you so excited to see me? Naruto asked in confusion. In that world, Naruto's relationship with Ino, a social person, was not bad, but he was not very close either. Although I was mentally prepared after I actually noticed the Nine Tails chakra in you, but I still can't control my emotions when I actually see you. Socialite Ino said. The expression on her face gradually became complicated again. She noticed it immediately this time, and immediately formed seals with her hands to remedy the situation. Oh, this is really difficult to handle, Naruto-kun. As long as I have you now, it seems that it will be difficult for me to use this ninjutsu to maintain the image I want you to see. Because Sakura was your friend, she killed me. Do you feel guilty about this? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.